Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto neglected by Team 7. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Alright team, meet me the Hokage Tower at 8 a.m. Tomorrow, okay, says the one-eyed Junin with an eye smile. Kakashi then leaves in a swirl of leaves, leaving his genin subordinates alone in the area. Sasuke, do you want to go out on a date with me? Asks a pink-haired girl, hoping to finally get a date with the #1 rookie of the year. Her response was from her beloved crush was a humph, as he walks away brooding the whole time. Hey Sakura, can you cut me down please? Asks a short blonde-haired preteen who is currently tied up to a post. Shut up Naruto, can't you see I'm busy with Sasuke? Screeches out Sakura as she chases after her crush, leaving her teammate all alone in training area 7. Come on guys, this isn't funny, shouts out Naruto, hoping that this was just some silly prank that his sensei and teammates was playing on him. Come on Kakashi sensei, joke's over. Soon realization dawned on his young mind, they left me, they don't care about me at all. Sigh, sometimes I wonder if Mizuki was right about how nobody cares for me. I know I have Iruka sensei and the old man, but that's not enough, it can never be. It had been at least 5 hours and we still find the blonde tied up to the post like some sacrifice to wild animals that live in the forest surrounding the training ground. Naruto was awoken from his nap when his stomach began to growl in need of food. He lifts his head and begins to scan the surrounding landscape, hoping to find someone that will help him. He soon notices that it's almost dark, and the sun has almost set. Looks like I'll be here all night. With that, Naruto passes into a world known as unctuousness. It was late at night when a man walks into the training ground. The man stood an impressive height with the ability to easily tower over everyone else in the village. The figure wore a black trench coat, under it he wore black baggy pants with a large amount of exterior pockets easily seen. On both of his legs were weapons pouches, which were easily secured by some white tape. His torso was covered by some strange armor, where he wore a skin-tight black shirt over, revealing his massive muscles. The sleeves of his coat ended at his wrist. On his hands he wore black fingerless gloves with metal plates on the back of his hand. His face could never be described, for he wore an eerie mask that resembles a human skull that covered his whole head. As he walked through the area with stealth that could never be rivaled, which is odd due to the huge steel-toed combat boots he wore, by any known predators in existence. As he made his way through the area he finds a child tied up to the post, passed out. With a flick of his wrist he sends a kunai towards the blonde. Thunk, the kunai finds its target, freeing the blonde from the ropes that held him prisoner. As he starts to fall forward he is easily caught by the masked man, who picks him up bridal style. After checking the young boy to see if he was alright, he then heads out towards the village. As sunlight streams into a room, a young blonde-haired teen wakes up in a warm and extremely comfortable bed. Where am I? The smell of freshly cooked food soon invades his senses. With the delicious scent attacking his senses, his stomach begins to complain about the lack of food. Deciding to follow his gut, he walks into a small kitchen where a mammoth of a man was setting some food on the table. Naruto couldn't get a good look at the man due to the cloak with a hood that hid his face completely in shadow. Who is this guy? Please sit, says the man, whose deep voice echoes with power, while gesturing to a chair at the opposite side of the table that he was standing beside. Thanks, Naruto says while obediently sitting down in the chair assigned to him by his host. The man only nods, handing Naruto a tall glass of milk, along with a large plate of rice, fruit, and some other types of food. When the plates landed on the table, Naruto instantly began stuffing himself full, pigging out on whatever was available to him. You seem hungry, stats the giant of the man as he sits himself down onto a chair, helping himself to some eggs. Seeing a child stuff his face like that disgusted him. He knew why the boy ate the way he did. One good look at the boy's rib cage was more than enough of an answer. It surprised him that the boy was still alive with all the malnutrition that he suffered. Tell me child, what is your name? Naruto Uzumaki, says the blonde between shovels full of food. All the man did was study him, or so he thought, like he was some kind of new discovery. Naruto, please answer me this. Why were you tied to that post like some sort of sacrifice? Says the stranger, noticing a very subtle emotion of betrayal flash through the boy's eyes. My teammates and sensei left me there after our test that made us official members of Team 7, says Naruto, dropping his head low, trying to hide the pain he felt. However, this did not go unnoticed by his host, who was studying the boy, trying to figure out what to do in this situation. "Who is your sensei?" "Kakashi Hitaki." So that emotionally damaged brat is a Junin instructor of a Genin team? What is that old fool Sarutobi thinks he's doing? What do you mean? Kakashi has always been unstable. His family put tremendous pressure on him since he was a small child, forcing him to be a genius. At a very young age he had lost both of his parents, along with his teammates, and finally he lost his sensei, the fourth Hokage. At the mention of the fourth he notices Naruto flinch. "So you know, huh?" "Yes, one of my teachers at the academy told me, when he had me steal the forbidden scroll out of the Hokage tower." "You managed to break into the tower and steal a scroll that holds some of the village's most guarded techniques?" "Well, I had help from Mizuki." "He went in there with you?" "No, he just told me about the scroll and where it was located. He waited for me out in the woods a good distance from the tower." "So you went into a highly secured area by yourself and stole something of high value from the vicinity. That fits the description of an sulfur monosulfide class mission, especially if there was the Anbu." "Well, there weren't many Anbu, but the old man was there." "Who? Old man Hokage? Why do you call him that?" "I don't know, I always call him that." "Ha ha. I can't think of anyone who had enough balls to call him that to his face," thought the man to himself. "Interesting, were you able to avoid detection?" "Well, yes, at least until I was on my out. That's when the old man found me." "What did you do then?" "I'm sure that a boy your age would be no match for a cage-level shinobi, no matter how old he is. I kinda used this jutsu that I created," says the blonde, scratching the back of his head, embarrassed by the attention that he was finally receiving after all the years of neglect. What is he so embarrassed about? He couldn't have been treated so badly that any form of attention could have him blushing. "Naruto, why don't you tell me a little about yourself?" he says, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. "I know I haven't been in the village for a few years, and I just got back the day before." Sigh, this is going to be a long day. As the boy told him about his past, the man couldn't help but think, man, the fourth would be so pissed by how this village has treated this boy, his legacy. "From the way you were forced to raise yourself, I can just sense the potential rolling off of you. You said that you were to meet your team at the tower by 8, right?" "Yup. Hey, what time is it?" asks the genin, noticing how there were no clocks in the man's house, since he did not have a watch, or knew how to tell the time by using the sun. "Well, according to the position of the sun, I'd say you have about 20 minutes until you have to meet your team and sensei at the tower," says the man, spitting out the words, team and sensei, in great disgust. "Just wondering, what part of the village are we in?" "We are in the west part of the village, about 3.5 miles from the tower." "You don't need to worry, I need to be there about the same time as you to make a report to the Hokage about a mission I had." "Okay." Naruto jumps in his seat, feeling someone touching his shoulder. He turns his head, seeing the man out of his seat standing next to him with his hand on his shoulder. Naruto does a double take. "How the hell did you get so fast?" "Oh, nothing special. Just some weight training, that's all," says the man, using a body flicker technique to transport them to the tower. They reappear seconds later in front of the Hokage tower in a swirl of flames. "Man, you have got to teach me that jutsu," shout out the energetic blonde, still standing next to the giant. "Maybe later," says the man, chuckling at the blonde's eagerness to learn. "Minato would be so proud of you, Naruto, his son. Why don't you go and meet with your team, huh?" "Okay, meet you later, mister?" "Please Naruto, just call me Skull Sensei," says the man, giving the boy a slight bow of respect. "It would be a great honor if you allowed me the privilege of training someone who has the potential to surpass all the other Hokages." "You're kidding, right?" "I never kid, says Skull, pulling down his hood to reveal his skull-like mask. "Till we meet again, my future Lord Hokage," says the man, with another small bow of respect to his student, who returns the bow to his new sensei with a true smile on his face and tears of happiness in his eyes. "Thank you, my true sensei," whispers out the blonde to his sensei as he heads towards the Hokage's office. Skull is striding down the hall towards the Hokage's office, killing intent rolling off of him like waves in a hurricane. Each step, each stride, is a countdown to the end of someone's life. It didn't matter who it was, as long as they played a part in his apprentice's abuse. "I'm going to kill that old fool for letting this happen to an innocent child." "Excuse me, sir, how can I help you?" asked the secretary, sitting at her desk, which is located by the door of the Hokage's office. Yes, you can. Tell that old goat that I'm here to see him, he says, releasing a massive blast of killing intent, terrifying the woman. Yes sir, she squeaks out, running into the Hokage's office to get away from this man. Come in, replies a gruff voice as the secretary flies past Skull as fast as she possibly can to get away from him. Skull then returns his attention to the office that belongs to the old man. Pulling himself together, he steps into the office, glaring at the Hokage through his mask. "Ah, Skull, I," was all that could leave his mouth as he finds a hand wrapped around his throat. He is soon slammed against the wall behind his desk. Swerving his eyes left and right, he notices his Anbu bodyguard knocked out cold. When he opened his mouth to speak again, he is then met with such a blast of killer intent, so intense it causes him to quiver in fear. He tries to open his mouth again for the third time, only to have a back of Skull's hand to come across his face. "Alright, you senile old bat, answer me this. Why is Minato's son being treated like shit?" barks out the giant of a man, increasing his killer intent with every word that he speaks. "Skull, I apologize, my dear Lord Hokage. I shouldn't be the one you are apologizing to," says Skull, holding up a picture of Naruto he had taken while the boy slept. The picture showed of the boy's ribs, along with a seal that he never knew existed. "What? My sentiments exactly. You should have let me take him with me when I was on that mission searching for Kushina," growls out Skull, raising the Hokage a few inches off the floor with his back still against the wall. "Please Skull, stop," wheezes out Sarutobi while Skull still has his hand around his throat, slowly applying pressure. "Why should I?" Skull says, still applying pressure to the old man's throat, cutting off his air supply. "Please, let me explain," he pleads to the man who's out to end his life on this earth. His response: he was thrown across the room, hitting the wall hard, knocking the air out his lungs. "You have 5 minutes. Rubbing his now sore throat, he explains, "Shortly after I sent you on that mission to look for Kushina, I told the villagers, hoping that they would see him as a hero." The killing intent rises while Skull shouts, "You fool, what were you absolutely thinking in that pile of dust you call a brain? I thought that the villagers would honor Minato's wish that Naruto would be treated like a hero. You old piece of shit, that isn't what Minato asked you to do. He wanted you to keep it a secret from the village, so that he couldn't be mistreated. I had to tell them. Rumors were spreading that he was the Kyuubi reincarnated. It was the only thing I could do to prevent him being executed. You were the Hokage, you could have done something. I guess nobody told you." "Told me what?" "Before I was reinstated, the council passed a few laws." "What kind of laws?" "Nearly all of my powers as a Hokage have been stripped from me. I can only do paperwork and assign certain missions." "Didn't you have any shinobi loyal to you at the time?" "Yes, but we were totally outnumbered, so it wouldn't have worked." "What do you mean outnumbered?" "When Minato disbanded Root, it didn't really disband, it went underground." "So Danzo and the council run the village, huh?" "I'm afraid so." "Does Kakashi know about whom Naruto's parents are?" "Yes, he does." "Then why did he leave Naruto tied up to that post?" "What? When did this happen?" "He left Naruto tied up to one of the training posts. I found him last night close to about midnight." "What did you do?" "Simple, I cut him loose and took him to my place. And when he had woken up, I fed him some breakfast." Skull says like it is the most obvious thing in the world. "Also, Lord Hokage, what is that seal on the back of my apprentice's neck?" The aged leader releases a sigh. "If what I saw in the photograph is what I think it is, then it is a suppression seal that is used on the most dangerous of criminals." "Who would do that to him?" "It's hard to say. Anyone who has worked in interrogation, our prison system, or even the Anbu would have the knowledge to place such a seal. For Naruto to reach the rank of genin is nothing short of astounding." "How effective is this seal, sir?" "From what I saw in the picture, I would say it is at its maximum level." "How strong is that?" "Let's look at it this way. Jiraiya wouldn't be able to mold chakra in any sense with that seal on him. A genin could beat him at taijutsu, and his thoughts would be shot to hell and back." That would explain why he does so poorly at times, and yet does so extraordinarily well in others. "Precisely, it is my belief that the council wants to sabotage Naruto's ninja career." "And why would they do that?" "Because I'm sure it has more to it than just being the vessel of Kyuubi." "Right on the money, I see. Yes, it does. You do know of the Namikaze clan fortune?" "Yes, it's the largest known amount of gold in all of Fire Country. Only the Fire Lord has a bigger account." "But what does this have to do with Naruto?" The council has frozen all of the boy's assets that he would inherit from his parents. However, because he is alive they can't take it for themselves, yet. So the boy has been living on welfare this whole time? No, the council denied him that, saying, "Why should we waste our money on a demon?" So he has been living off an allowance that I have been giving him since he had gotten his own apartment. And when, might I ask, was that? Shortly after he turned 3, he was kicked out for supposedly starting a fight with a group of boys who just so happened to be ganging up on him at the time. What do you plan for the boy now? Surely you know that Kakashi will go out of his way to sabotage Naruto's training? Yes, that's true, but I was not the one who paired the teams. Let me guess, it was the council who decided the teams, am I right? Right on the money again, I see. I've been secretly trying to contact Jiraiya, hoping that he would take the boy to be his apprentice. I see what you're planning, since Jiraiya is a Sannin he has certain rights. And with those rights he can't be bullied by council. Yes, that was the plan. Okay, hang on. What do you mean by, was? Jiraiya still has not gotten over the fact that his favorite student is dead. So he's blaming Naruto for what happened to Minato. No, it's not simple. You see, Jiraiya, oh what the fuck, he is blaming Naruto for what happened to Minato. So he won't train the boy at all, right? No, I believe that Jiraiya will train him, but he will only teach him summoning and the Rasengan, if only in honor of Minato's memory. So the boy is pretty much screwed where senseis are concerned. Precisely, I would train him myself, but you know how the council will react. They'd probably make you stop teaching him, and somehow force you to train that spoiled brat of an Uchiha. That pretty much sums it up right there. Before we continue, let's sit down, this floor is killing my lower back. Alright, but you better not piss me off again. I don't plan to. Good, Skull says while extending out his hand to the Hokage, who gladly took it. Now on to more important matters. Lord Hokage, I wish to take Naruto as my apprentice. You know the council won't be happy about this at all, says the aged Hokage as he eases himself into his chair. It's a good thing you knocked out my bodyguard's skull. Oh, and why is that? He says with amusement in his voice. Just look at their masks. Ah, now I see. Let me guess, the council forced you to take these rude Anbu as your bodyguard so that they can spy on you? That's correct, and as for Naruto being your apprentice, I approve it. However, I want it to be kept a secret from Kakashi. I would absolutely love to see his face when Naruto beats up the precious Uchiha princess. And so would I. Also, how to keep this from the council? Easy, shadow clones. That should work. Leave a clone with Kakashi after missions while I take Naruto to train him. Yes, it should, as long as Kakashi doesn't try to use Naruto as a test subject for Sasuke to practice jutsus on. He's that sick in the head, isn't he? Unfortunately, yes he is. How do we remove the seal from his neck? You don't need to worry about that at all, Skull. Bring Naruto by tomorrow, and I will remove the seal myself. Well, if there isn't anything else you need from me, Skull says, standing up from his chair that in front of the Hokage's desk, I'm going to go and pick up my apprentice. Skull, seeing the man as he stops right at the door, he continues, I wish you luck in your training of Naruto. I also want that report by the end of the end. Yes sir, my lord Hokage, says Skull as he bows in respect for the Hokage as he then turns and walks out the door. I'll wait until they're done with their D-ranked missions, by then Kakashi should have taken Sasuke away for some private tutoring. Sarutobi, the third Hokage, let out a deep sigh as he sat behind his desk finishing up this evening's worth of paperwork. No matter how hard he tried to concentrate on his work, 2 files would always find their way into his hands. These files contained what known records there were on Skull and Skull's mission report on his search for Kushina, Naruto's mother. I've read millions of these before, but why am I so drawn to these? I know why for the mission report on Kushina, but why I'm so drawn to Skull's public records. As the old man runs these thoughts through his head, he can't help but read Skull's records for the 5th time that day. Name. Classified. Alias. Skull. Height. 7 feet. 2 inches. Weight. 350 pounds. Clan. Classified. Known bloodline. S. Classified. Parents. Classified. Village of birth. Konohagakure no Sato. Date of birth. Classified. Rank. Junin. Specialty. S. Taijutsu, Fuinjutsu, Ninjutsu. Not much is now known of Skull. Shortly before the Kyuubi attack, almost all known information about him was deemed classified by the 4th Hokage. No known reason has been supplied as to why the fourth classified skull's true identity. 3 weeks after the defeat of the nine-tailed fox, known as Kyuubi no Kitsune, Skull had attempted to adopt the demon's vessel, Naruto Uzumaki. The request was denied by the third Hokage, on the basis that he was needed on a mission to search for said boy's mother, Kushina Uzumaki. It has become a popular rumor throughout all known shinobi villages that the only man who has been able to defeat Skull was Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. He was right, I should have let him take Naruto with him. At least he would have had a better life. I'm such a fool, believing that they would honor his wish, says the aged leader with his face buried deep in his hands. I should have known that he would never find Kushina, her hospital room was absolutely destroyed. She'd probably been killed by one of Minato's enemies. She would have made such a wonderful mother, and Naruto's would have much better with his mother there to love him. Not even thinking, the third Hokage could not help but to read the mission report on the search for Kushina. The mission itself took a better part of 12 years before Skull decided to call it quits, after which Skull had immediately returned to the village. Mission report. Search of missing personnel. Name of target. Kushina Uzumaki. Place of birth. Whirlpool country. Date of birth. Unknown. Parents. Unknown. Height. Unknown. Weight. Unknown. Hair color. Red. Eye color. Green. Clan. Uzumaki. Known bloodline. S. Unknown. Rank. Junin. Specialty. S. Unknown. All known public and medical documents on Kushina Uzumaki were lost during the Kyuubi attack. Due to both the archive fires, this caused many files to be lost. And the collapses of the west wing of the hospital where all medical files were kept. Kushina was first reported missing 2 hours before Kyuubi suddenly appeared and began its rampage. The last she was seen was immediately after she gave birth to her son, Naruto Uzumaki. The nurse on duty claims that Kushina was asleep when she left the room to do her rounds to check on the other patients in the delivery wing. After the Kyuubi was defeated, a search party was formed, however due to the condition on the village the search was called off a few days later. 3 weeks after the Kyuubi's attack, Skull was handpicked by the third Hokage to continue the search for Kushina. When Skull took over the search for Kushina, any known files about the missing woman was given to Skull. Here is a copy of the report on the investigation that was launched when Kushina was first reported missing. Upon the beginning of the investigation, there were clearly signs of a struggle that had taken place. Due to the claw and teeth marks that were in every section of the room and high residue of chakra in the room, it is a high probability that a summons was used as a weapon to assassinate Kushina Uzumaki. Blood samples that were gathered from the scene were damaged due to parts of the hospital collapsing during the Kyuubi attack. A group of Inuzuka trackers were brought in to search, however due to the heavy damage to the village and the shinobi forces, all searches had to be ceased. It is not known whether or not the search for Kushina will be resumed. After viewing the crime scene photographs, I had gone to all known summoner in the village to see if they could recognize the claw and teeth marks. Of all of the summoner that I have asked, none have been able to provide a definite identity of the summons. As I expanded my search to all known allied villages, asking the same question while showing them the photos. When there seemed to be no knowledge on what type of beast was used to attack Kushina, I decided to expand my search into enemy territory. While I was at a tavern, I decided to ask a group of hunters if they had ever seen marks like these, again showing the crime scene photos. The claw and teeth marks were identified instantly. The supposed culprit was a fox. I then reread the reports that were filed when Kushina first was reported missing. To some of the personnel who were investigating the case, the chakra was reported to have a demonic feel to it. It has come to my conclusion that the culprit of a summons was a demon fox. When I was out searching for our summoned creature, I was also searching for Kushina. Unfortunately, all tracks leading in and out of the village, before the Kyuubi's attack, was wiped off the face of the earth. My path started from Konoha to Whirlpool. When no trace was found of Kushina, I decided to head towards enemy territory while going to any nearby allies for any information on regards to Kushina. I have theorized that when the doctors had taken Naruto to run tests, to make sure that he was healthy, that an assassin using demon foxes to capture Kushina, should the Kyuubi somehow failed, and assassinated her out of village in one of the heavily damaged area of Konoha. Due to damage caused by the fox, Kushina's body was either completely destroyed in the attack or damaged beyond any form of identification, which has had happened to a majority of Kyuubi's victims. It is with a heavy heat that I deemed that Kushina had died during or before the Fox's attack due to an assassination attempt on her life. It was then that the third Hokage remembered what happened earlier that evening when he had removed Naruto's suppression seal. Flashback. Alright Naruto, do you know why I called you here? Asks the aged leader with a stern voice to get the seriousness across to the boy he had always considered a grandson. Yeah, you're going to remove that seal that makes it where I such real bad at doing everything, says the blonde who was feeling numb at prospect of learning that someone was out there trying to hamper his learning process. Skull, did you bring him some clothes? Sarutobi asks Skull, who was leaning against the wall watching in fascination. Yes, I got him some baggy clothes, along with a bandana and mask, so it will be easier to keep this from the council. Well, at least for a while anyways. What are you guys talking about? Asks Naruto, trying to figure out the situation that he had gotten into. Deciding to break the news to the boy, the third Hokage, Sarutobi says, Naruto, you wondered why we're always short? Yeah, but you said that it was because of all the ramen that I ate. Actually Naruto, I don't think that's true. What do you mean, Skull-sensei? What he means, Naruto, is that when you passed out from Kakashi's test, Skull decided to check to see if you were healthy. And I found a seal that was placed on the back of your neck, just above your hairline. If I hadn't felt it activate, I'm sure that I never would have noticed it, says Skull in a very calm-like manner, still leaning against the wall. What do you mean activate? Questions the blonde with fear in his voice. Well, when I examined the seal, let's just say it was the reason why you are so short, says Skull, crossing his arms over his chest, trying to control himself before he slaughtered the whole council, which wouldn't be that much of a bad thing. How does it do it? The seal prevents your brain from giving out certain signals, minimizing the amount of hormones that your brain sent out. These hormones are the type the body uses to grow, says the professor, Sarutobi, as he continues, it is my belief that if that seal is removed, you will reach your true height as long as you stay on a healthy diet. Alright, let's do this. I'm tired of being a short loser, shouts out the blonde, who always knew that there was something missing. Well, you heard the boy, shall he, Sarutobi, Skull says, chuckling the whole time. Alright, let's begin, shall we? Naruto, I need you stripped down to your boxers, okay? Oh, alright, says the blonde as he does what he is told. Amazing. He's been given only 3 full meals and he already looks a lot healthier, thought both men quietly to themselves. And it was true, no longer was his ribs showing, his skin and hair began to take on a healthier tone, and where he barely had muscle before, a fresh set of new muscles began to grow in. Sarutobi then bites his thumb and starts to do a long strand of hand signs. When he finishes, he swipes the bloody appendage against the seal. Not even a second after he swipes his thumb across the seal, Naruto bursts into a sphere of red light. The light wraps itself around Naruto, encasing him in a cocoon of sorts. After waiting for 5 minutes, the cocoon fades away, revealing an all-new Naruto. Naruto now stood as one of the tallest boys in his class. His golden blonde hair had streaks of fiery red hair in it. His whisker marks darkened to become more noticeable, giving him a feral look. Instead of fingernails and toenails, there were a set of dangerous claws. His skin took on even a more of a healthy tone to it. All in all, Naruto looked almost demonic. End flashback. Shortly afterward, Skull dressed Naruto into the new set of, what would have been baggy, clothes, which seemed to have fit him nicely. Skull then took Naruto to his place, where it would be much safer for the boy to recover. This doesn't make sense. I know that the fox would want a strong container. But what I just saw was much more than necessary to secure its survival. The seal that Minato placed seems to be working at full strength. For the fox to do this, it would require a lot of its chakra. Far too much for a demon to spend on a human, even if it did depend on their survival. All this does was just raise even more questions. Why would the fox want to help Naruto out so much? A good night's sleep will probably help, if not there's always tomorrow, says the leader to himself as he prepares to head home. Elsewhere, on the other side of the village, we see Naruto tossing and turning on his new bed. One good look at him and one could tell that he was having nightmares, all the while a veil of red chakra forms around Naruto, calming him down. Forgetting all about his nightmares, Naruto fades away into a blissful, peaceful sleep, and with that the chakra itself recedes back into the seal. When the chakra recedes into the seal, however, something happens that neither Naruto nor the fox ever imagined would happen. Mindscape. Where am I? Whispered the blonde to himself from his seat in what appeared to be a floor of a sewer. Standing up, Naruto begins to look around his surroundings, hoping to find some clue as to where he is. From the looks of things I must be in some kind of sewer system, but I've never seen a sewer system like this in Konoha before. Before he could explore his new surroundings, a muffled sound caught his attention. It sounds like someone crying, Naruto says to himself. Is there someone else down here too? Shrugging his shoulders, he continues, might as well see if I can help whoever else is down here. Following the sound leads him down a long corridor. He passes by many doors, all of which giving him the creeps by looks alone. Walking down the partially flooded hallway, he nears an area where another hallway branches off of the original. When he turns to look down the adjoining corridor, the crying comes to a sudden stop. Now that's, Naruto never got to finish his sentence as a deep rumbling sound fills the area. What the hell is that? It almost sounds like something's growling. Damn, I just hope I'm wrong, because if I'm right then this bastard must be huge. Going against all known logic, Naruto heads towards the growling noise. Walking for what seemed to him a small eternity, he comes across a massive room. Holy shit, all of Konoha could fit in here easily, shouts out Naruto, noticing the sheer massive size of the room. Looking around the barren room for more information as to where he was, he notices a massive gate, keeping the gate closed, were no locks of any kind but a piece of paper with the word seal written on it. Walking up to the gates hoping to catch a glimpse of what's on the other side. Noticing that something was moving in the cage, Naruto barely jumped out of the way of a massive set of claws. So this is my container, truly pathetic, says a deep powerful voice that echoes in the room, increasing the fear that the voice alone instilled. Why isn't it the stupid bastard of a fox, Kyuubi, says Naruto, discovering that he had somehow gotten inside of the seal. His comeback to fox is met with a growling from the most powerful demon in existence. Come closer to my cage, pathetic human, so I can feast on your marrow, growls out the demon, revealing its red slanted eyes and massive razor-sharp teeth. Let me see, how about no, says Naruto, imitating Kakashi, hoping to piss off the fox that is imprisoned behind the seal. Okay, that's it, you hairless rat, roars out the fox, thrashing against the massive bars that held it in place. Kyuubi, you have been in here for what, about 13 years? What makes you think that you will be able to break out after all these years? Asks Naruto, acting like this all bored him. Crap, that scared the hell out of me. You think you're brave, don't you? Says Kyuubi, hoping to get a reaction out its vessel. For your information, boy, I'm the most powerful demon in all existence. Yada, 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 says Naruto in a very mocking manner. Let me guess, you also want me to let you out, right? That's right, mortal, release me. Shut up, you know that I will never let you lose. You will do as I say. No, I won't. Grr. Yes, you will, you insolent whelp. No, I won't. Yes, you will. Make me, shouts out Naruto, looking the fox right in the face. Cause the way I see it, you owe me. Grr. I owe you nothing. Brat, roars out the fox, slamming its whole body against the gate to get its point across. Oh really, if I remember correctly, you're the reason why my life is a living hell. You son of a bitch, shouts Naruto in a pain-filled voice. If it weren't for you, my parents wouldn't have abandoned me, says Naruto, breaking down, crying for the first time since he was 5. Who told you this? Asks Kyuubi in a kind and very caring voice. Almost everyone. The old man told me they loved me very much, but everyone else said they abandoned me because nobody can ever love a demon, says Naruto, tears still streaming down his face. His head dropping low with his hands covering his eyes, he sits down on the ground with his back against the fox's cage. Naruto, I didn't leave you, says a soft, gentle voice of a woman. Naruto freezes on the spot as he feels thin, yet powerful, arms pull him a loving embrace. Shish, it's alright Naruto, it's alright, says the voice as a hand combs through his hair gently. Mom? Yes Naruto, it's me, says the voice, pulling him in tighter into the embrace. Where were you? Where were you when I needed you? Says Naruto, nearing hysterics. He soon feels her kiss the top of his head, all the while whispering soothing things to him. I was in here waiting for you, she says, still running her hand through his messy mop of hair. You look so much like your father, she says with deep regret in her voice. What was he like? Let's see, he was a kind, very compassionate man who helped anyone he could. He was also considered a total heartthrob, and, well, there's just so much that could be said about him. Would he have been proud of me? Of you, yes. Of this village, fuck no. Mom. Yes, Naruto? Why did you attack the village? Asks Naruto, trying to unravel the reason as to why his whole life went to hell and back. Hearing this question, she immediately stiffens. Feeling this, Naruto quickly apologizes. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked Mom. No, Naruto, you did nothing wrong. It's just that I'm still trying to figure it out myself, she says, pulling Naruto closer into her, trying to make up for all the lost time with her son. What do you mean? Naruto, whenever a demon gives birth, she runs on pure instinct. She can't really think straight. I think what happened was that someone tried to assassinate me after I gave birth to you. Why would someone try to kill you, Mom? Let me finish, okay? Sorry. It's alright, as I was saying. When a female demon gives birth, we run purely on instinct. Why's that? Because, during childbirth, emotions are running wild, and our bodies are easily exposed to many dangers. So it's some kind of defense mechanism? Correct. So I guess that when he saw me transform, he ran off and I chased him out of my territory. Territory? Questions Naruto. Yes, demons you see are very territorial. And my territory at the time was Konoha. Well, anyways, after I chased him out of the village, some ninja must have thought that I was out to destroy the village. Since no one knew that I was demon, except your father. Who was he? His name was Minato Namikaze. What, you mean that Dad was the one who sealed you into me? Yes, he did? Ah, how did you two meet? Well, before I lived in Konoha, I lived in Whirlpool. When he was sank in the war, I decided to take the form of a 12-year-old refuge until I can find my own place to stay. How old was Dad? He was 12 years old? What rank did he have? He was just assigned to a genin team under his sensei Jiraiya. What did you do when you first got here? Well, when I first got here, I was temporarily placed with your father and his team before I was placed on my own team. That's how we got to know each other. And not too long after that, we made a promise to hang out as much as we could after that. As the years went on, our friendship blossomed into love. How'd he take the news that you were a demon? He took it quite well. What do you mean? He thought that me having tails was hot. What do you mean? I'll tell when you're older, okay, she says with an embarrassed blush on his face. Alright, he says, noticing his mother release a sigh in relief. So who is you Junin sensei? She asks, changing the subject before more can be said on the matter. Kakashi, but he hates my guts. What do you mean? When my team and I passed the bell test, I was left tied to the stump all night. What? How dare he? I will rip him to shreds for doing that, my kid. She says, starting to go demonic, holding on fiercely to her son. Mom, you're starting to scare me. Sorry, Naruto. It's okay, Mom. At this, her heart swells with joy in her chest. So is there anything else you want to tell me? Well, let's see. Oh yay, I'm now the apprentice of this guy who goes by the name of Skull. What? It can't be. Naruto, does he like to wear a lot of black clothes, and wears a skull-like mask, she says. Yeah, why? He asks, wondering what his mother was up to. Well, he used your father's best friend when he was in the Anbu. So Skull Sensei was in the Anbu with Dad, asks Naruto, trying to find out more about his parents. Yep, why else do you think he wears those creepy masks all the time, says Kushina in a matter-of-fact tone. I don't know, I just thought that he really liked wear those, for intimidation? Yeah, well, that too. I don't think anyone has really ever seen his face before. Are you serious? Well, anyone alive anyways. How can someone hide their face for that long? Naruto asks with skepticism in his voice. I don't know, the only person I know who has seen his face was your father. How did he get to see Skull Sensei's face? Shouts out Naruto, wanting to solve the mystery what laid hidden by that skull-like mask. Your father and Sensei were always sparring when they weren't on missions. So one day your father tried a weakened version of the Rasengan of him destroying his mask. So, did Dad tell you what he looked like? Asks Naruto excitedly. No, the asshole wouldn't tell me a single thing. He kept saying that it was Skull's secret and that he would respect it, she says with a pout on her face. What's the Rasengan? The Rasengan was a jutsu that your father created. He created quite a few, says Kushina. Mom, do you think that I'll ever be as good as Dad? Naruto asks. Why do you ask that? Well, one of my goals was to become the Hokage, and become the greatest of them all, Naruto says in a dulled out voice. Do you still want to be the Hokage? Shrugging his shoulders, I really don't know anymore. I mean how I can be Hokage of a village that absolutely hates me. Trying to ease his mom's guilt. Come on mom, you know that even if you weren't sealed they would still hate me for being a half-breed, although if I think about it my original reason to become the Hokage was somewhat selfish. I bet that dad would be ashamed to know that I only wanted to be the Hokage only for respect and recognition. No he wouldn't, he would be proud of the fact that you had admitted it, and you're doing what you can to stay strong and be happy, Kushina says in her motherly voice to her son. You think so mom? Sweetie I know so, she says jokingly ruffling his hair up worse than it had ever been. Thanks mom. So what do you do in here? I mean you stuck in here for some time. Well for the most part one just sleep, since there is actually nothing in here for me to do in the first place, says Kushina letting out a huff of boredom. Hey mom, says Naruto getting his mother's attention. Yes, says Kushina calmly. If we're inside my mind then can I change it, like I was in some kind of dream? Naruto asks trying to make his mother's living conditions to become a bit more comfortable. Well this is your mind, so you should be able to change it to whatever you want. Well, what do you want mom? Let's see, says Kushina in a thinking pose, tapping her chin. How we just let your imagination run loose, then we'll go from there. Okay mom, says Naruto closing his eyes in concentration, focusing on the task at hand. In a flash of white light the sewers were gone. In its place a beautiful forest clearing with a small majestic lake. The clearing was the perfect size for Kushina, even if she went into her giant fox form. Along the lake a sandy white beach spread on for what seemed to be miles with a beautiful sun reading to set. The clearing was magnificent itself. All types of beautiful wild flowers grew. In the middle of the clearing stood a training field full of what anything a shinobi needed to excel their training. On the far edge of the clearing, there stood a small simple cabin that radiated a feeling coziness. So how did I do? Turning around Kushina spots her son with a big fox-like grin on his face. What? Asks Kushina in shock. She then notices that there are not bars or fences separating her from her son. Naruto, shouts out Kushina as she latches onto her son, tears streaming down her face. Hugging him tightly, it's so beautiful, thank you. You don't have to thank me mom, says Naruto scratching his head in embarrassment. Yes I do, I've been nothing but a horrible mother. I wasn't there for your birthday, holidays, or to protect you from the beatings that you got when you were younger, cries out Kushina, tears still coming down her face. No you weren't mom, you did what you could, he says hoping to make his mother feel better. Name one thing that I've done for you, shouts out the crying demon lord holding her son dearly. Cycling through his memories, Naruto searches for anything to prove that his mother had tried to help him. Coming across one he says, I remember when I used to get some real bad beatings, before the old man gave me some real bodyguards, that there was this red chakra that always appeared, before I pasted out, that would heal every one of my wounds. I still should have done so much more. Mom, how did I survive on an all ramen diet? Questioned Naruto hoping to get something to help him with his hysterical mother. I used my chakra to nourish your body, says a hysteric mother, barely able to answer her son's question. You see mom, all this time you were helping me even inside of this seal, says Naruto rubbing his mother's back in a soothing fashion. I guess so, Kushina says calming down with her son still held tightly in her arms breathing in his scent. Good cause, I'm tired, says Naruto letting out a mighty yawn as he lies down on the ground to sleep. His head never touches the ground as a giant tail wraps around him. Snuggling into the fur of his mother he says, thanks mom. Sweet dreams, says the demon lord cuddling her son next to her giant fox form to keep him warm. I wish things were different, I wish you were here Minato. And with that the great Kyuubi no Kitsune went to sleep, using her tails and body to embrace her son. Does any of this strike you as odd? Questions the third Hokage, taking another puff off of his pipe. Yes it does, the Kyuubi going out of its way to help its jailer, Skull says leaning against a wall near the Hokage in his office. How do you get the council to let you keep your privacy? I had to agree to some of the council's demands. Luckily the clan heads who tried to honor Minato's wishes were able to prevent the demands from being too high, says the professor leaning forward while webbing his fingers together, placing his elbows on his desk, resting his chin on his hands. And what, might I ask, were the council's demands? Just some things that aren't really necessary anymore. Stats the aged leader, a sly grin appearing on his aged features. I was lucky Danzo wasn't there. He would have figured out what I was planning, and would have shot it down in flames. And that would be, asks Skull, rolling his left and in a form to tell the Hokage to keep going. Since Naruto doesn't need any bodyguards, I offered that if they take Root out of my office, that I wouldn't assign the boy any bodyguards. Taking a drag off his pipe, he continues, I also gave them an agreement that if they withdraw all of their spies that spy on Naruto, then I will guarantee that I will not force Kakashi to teach Naruto anything. I see, since Naruto is my apprentice, he will not need any bodyguards, because he will be around me all the time, even at my house, which I have set up a room for him, says Skull. And with Kakashi focusing more on the Sasuke, it will make it easier to train Naruto without fear of interference or discovery. That's correct, however you're forgetting that without the spies, keeping Naruto's changes from the council will be easier than ever, stats the aged leader, taking yet another drag from his pipe. It will also make it easier to keep the boy's strength hidden from Kakashi. Since he is the Naruto's primary sensei assigned by the council, he will be the one who makes the decision whether or not to let you continue the boy's training. How strong do you think he is? Without the suppression seal in the way, he should make immense progress, he says, rubbing his chin deep in thought. Yes, that is something that I would like to see myself. And I believe I will. You care to elaborate, Lord Hokage, says Skull. You're talking about my apprentice after all, and as a good sensei it is my duty to prepare him for what is to come. I am merely saying that we should test the boy to see his true potential. With that I should be able to give you some help in the boy's training. Also I would like to personally teach the boy some of my own techniques. He is like a grandson to me after all, says the third with great pride in his voice for Naruto. And when do you plan to do this little test? In about 2 weeks, that should be enough time for you to get the boy used to his new body, since he did have a major growth spurt. I also like for you to teach Naruto a few low-level techniques, so he can see how fast he can grasp onto a new concept. Another thing is that I would like for you to tell Naruto the full use of the Shadow Clone Jutsu, as it will allow him to relearn things that he never got in the academy, either due to neglectful teachers or the seal messing with his memory. However, I don't want him to use it to learn new techniques during this time. To allow him to use clones would be like giving him a much larger time frame to work with, thus ruining the purposes of this test, says Sarutobi, taking yet again another drag from his pipe. Anything peculiar that you would want me to teach the boy? Asks Skull with his arms crossed, ready to take in any advice that the Hokage would give. I recommend that you teach him some techniques that require average to even high chakra control. I also request that you teach him every chakra control exercise that you can think of. When he has learned water walking, I would like you to teach him 2 or 3 B-class jutsus of your choice. You do know with that type of arsenal at his disposal he would be at a level of a Chunin, right? Chunin to be more precise, since he doesn't have any real battle experience. However, when the Chunin exams roll around I plan to have him promoted as soon as possible. So that way Kakashi no longer has any control over who trains Naruto. Precisely, with Naruto as a Chunin, Kakashi has no immediate control over him like he would if Naruto was a Genin. What of the chance that Naruto is sent on a long-term mission and he is still a Genin? What do we do then? Questions Skull. I'm just trying to be prepared for whatever comes. The chances of that happening are quite slim. However, should that problem arise, I'll also send another Chunin with Kakashi. I will also let you choose who you want to go, says Sarutobi, leaning back in his chair. Are my choices limited in any way, Lord Hokage? Only those who you trust, replies the aged leader. Good, I will begin his training tomorrow, says Skull, disappearing in a swirl of flames. And I wish you the best of luck. Sarutobi wishes as leans back in his chair again, closing his eyes in thought. So far everything seems to be going as planned, but why do I get this feeling that things have just started? It was a beautiful new day for the village of Konoha. The sun was rising, the birds were singing, and a sleepy blonde fiery red-headed teen stirs in his sleep. Raising his head up from his new bed, he notices that there is something lying on top of the seal located on his stomach. Opening his eyes slowly, giving them the proper time to adjust to the sunlight that's streaming into the room, he notices that there is a small fiery red object lying there. He soon adjusts to the light. There, lying on his stomach, was a small fiery red fox. Mom, says Naruto in a very shaky voice. Noticing the fox's ear twitch, he couldn't help but reach out and scratch the fox behind the ear, causing the fox to lean into his hand. Why morning Naruto, says the small fox, opening her eyes. Her eyes soon shot open, noticing her son who appears to be quite a bit larger than her. Naruto, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Repeats Naruto. Ow, what was that for mom? Asks Naruto, rubbing his cheek where his mother scratched him with her sharp claws. That was for cursing, young man, shouts out the angered mother, and if it makes you feel any better, I only meant to smack you, not cut you. Yeah, I feel loads better, replies the blonde, rolling his eye. Ow, what was that for? For mouthing off and rolling your eyes at me, growls out the demon lord, her back arched, her fur standing on end, making her look pretty intimidating. I'm sorry, shouts out Naruto, starting to panic, memories of beatings that he received as young child coming to the surface after years of being buried in his subconscious. Seeing her son beginning to panic, she tries to think of a way to calm him down. He's having a panic attack, what do I do? I hope that I can still take my human form. Shish, it's alright. I won't let anyone hurt you anymore, Kushina says, soothing her son while rubbing his back, effectively calming him down. I'm sorry mom, chokes out a sobbing Naruto, burying his face into his mother's chest, crying. Continuing to rub her son's back, she says, I'm sorry Naruto, I didn't mean to scare you. She continues to rub his back, all the while saying whatever she could to calm her son down. Naruto, you're my baby, my son, and my life, and I will gladly give my life for you to be happy. Really? Asks Naruto, reining in his emotions, trying to calm down. Absolutely, says Kushina, a very large fox-like grin appearing on her face. Naruto, I'm sorry for scaring you, just, please don't cuss around me again, okay? But you were cursing, points out Naruto, earning a groan of frustration from his mother. Yes, I know I did, but you've got to understand that I've been living in your gut for 12 years. And next thing I know I wake up free from the seal, and as a small fox, might I add, is quite surprising. Hey mom, can you still take your giant fox form? You mean my Kyuubi form? Asks Kushina. Getting a nod of, yes, she continues, I'm not sure, I'm not a seal expert, and who knows what has happened to the seal. I'm just happy to be out, and have my human form. So you're not going to find out if you can transform into your Kyuubi form? Naruto asks, confused about why his mother would just be happy in her human form. Well, not anytime soon. Remember what I told you about what happened the last time I went into that form? Kushina says, all the while thinking about how to explain how a woman who was dead for about 12 years suddenly reappears claiming her son. So what now mom? Asks Naruto. Yes, what now Kyuubi, or should I say Kushina, boons out a powerful voice. Turning their heads, they see Skull standing in the doorway, with his arms crossed, making it to be a very intimidating stance due to his immense size. Skull, I, shut it Kushina, I heard you in the other room, and I have some questions that need some answering, replies Skull in a tone that leaves no room for argument. Skull, I, Kushina, I said to shut up, Skull shouts out. Dropping her head in shame, she can't help but think, he hates me, because I'm a demon. He'll probably act like those villagers. Tears start to come from Kushina's eyes at the loss of a person she once considered her older brother. However, those thoughts were short-lived, due to a pair of massive arms that wrapped around her small frame. I told you to shut up so you wouldn't ruin the moment like you usually do, replies Skull with a great joy in his voice. Hey, when have I ever ruined the moment? Asks Kushina, taking a few steps back, placing her hands on her hips. Let's see, oh, remember when Minato proposed to you? Says Skull, crossing his arms over his chest. What did she do, Skull-sensei? Asks Naruto, still sitting on his new bed. Oh, nothing much, just humping your father like a dog in heat, with Jiraiya, Kakashi, Tsunade, Shizune, the third, and me watching, replies Skull, and we ran the hell out of there. Hell, I bet all of Konoha heard the ruckus that you two made that night, which also, might I add, all fucking night long. You don't need to tell him that, shouts out Kushina, and I'm a fox, not a mutt, so get your story straight. I did not want to know that. I'm not listening, LA, shouts out the traumatized Naruto, covering his ears, not wanting to know any more about his parents' life. Skull, look what you did. You broke him, shouts out the redhead, pulling her son into a hug, rocking him back and forth, whispering soothing things to him, trying to calm him down. I did not, I just told him what happened when you two got engaged, says Skull, doing everything in his power not to burst out laughing. Besides, isn't the job of the older brother to embarrass the hell out of his little sister? I thought that you'd hate me when you found out that I was a demon, Kushina says with joy in her heart knowing that she still has her brother. Now why would I hate a demon that pretends to be human, while I'm a human who pretends to be a ruthless demon on the battlefield? That would make me into a hypocrite, which I am most certainly am not, replies Skull. However, there is still this question that has been nagging me for a while. What is it? Asks Kushina, who is still trying to comfort her son. How do you get out of the seal? Make no mistake, I'm glad to have you back, but you should still be inside the seal, Skull says, rubbing his chin deep in thought. I don't know either, she says. I think I did it, Mom, says Naruto, who is now sitting up. Why do you think that? Asks Kushina. Well, when I changed the inside of the seal, I kinda wished that you were out of the seal, replies Naruto, scratching the back of his head nervously. Naruto, I don't think that would work, replies Skull. Why not? Maybe Minato made the seal to where I can be released later on, Kushina asks, wondering herself how she had gotten out of that seal. Kushina, who do think the old man had convinced the council that the seal would hold you until the day of Naruto's death, says Skull, and don't you forget that I know just about the same as Minato did on seals. However, there could be the possibility of a third party controlling the seal. A third party? Asks Naruto. Yes, a third party. It would explain why you were brought to your mother inside the seal. It would also explain why she is out all of a sudden, Skull explains. It also worries me greatly. Why's that, Skull-sensei? Asks Naruto, starting to get nervous. Naruto, if they were able to camouflage those aspects of the seal from me, then how can I be sure of what the seal can really do? Skull says as he leans up against the wall. Hell, for all we know, this person or persons is holding your life in the palm of their hands, or this person could use the seal to control you like he would a puppet. What are we going to do? Asks Kushina, fear for her son completely evident in her voice. Well, for starters, I'm going to examine the seal, along with the third, to see if we can find out what the seal really does and who's controlling it, Skull replies in a calm voice. And if we can figure anything out, it would then be a wise choice to alter the seal to where they have no known advantage over us in any way. How do you do it? Do what, Kushina? Asks Skull, turning his head towards her direction. Calm, when everyone else is panicking, you always seem to be the calm one. Heck, I remember a few missions where the only reason we survived was because you kept a level head, Kushina says, looking into the eyes of his skull-like mask. However, due to a special set of lenses, with an advanced array of protective seals, no one has ever seen his eyes. I'm not Kushina. There are just times where I just run on a mixture of instinct and intelligence. And while using these two, I can temporarily shut off my emotions long enough for the mission to be completed. You can turn off your emotions, Skull-sensei? Asks the blonde-hair teen. Only for a while, Naruto. However, shortly after the mission I'm highly emotional, so I usually request a day or two off from high-ranked missions. It's the only way that I'm able to control myself, and Sarutobi knows to not push it, replies Skull. So you're like a woman on her monthly, replies Naruto. Ow. Don't you ever say anything like that around me again, young man, shouts out the angry demon lord, her eyes glowing an eerie blood red, her fist cocked back ready to hit her son again. Note to self, think before I open my big mouth, thought out our blonde hero. Is it just me, or is there smoke actually coming off her fist that she hit me with? Sitting up, which required him to pull his face out of the floor, he inspects the damage done to the floor. Whoa, there's an imprint of my face on the floor. Pushing her son out of the way, Kushina checks to see if what her son claims is true. It's okay, but I was aiming for a much deeper imprint. At hearing this, Naruto shouts out, what? Naruto, one thing you should know is not to piss off a woman, ever. Especially if she is a ninja. Even more if she happens to be a demon lord with the best training a shinobi can ever hope for, Skull says, all the while laughing at the stupidity of his young student. As much as you think it's funny, Skull, it's not, and we should go and tell the third the situation that we seem to be in, replies Kushina, who has now calmed down enough to not murder her son. Alright, Kushina, you're right like always. Man, you're such a killjoy. Well, except when you play your little vixen games with Minato, shouts out Skull, grabbing Naruto and using his favorite teleportation technique to get out of there just in the nick of time. I'm going to kill you, Skull, Kushina roars out, her eyes glowing eerie red again. Skull, what are you doing in my office? You should be out training, Naruto, the aged leader shouts, hiding his orange book in one of his hidden drawers. There appears to be a slight inconvenience. Oh, and what that might be? Well, for one, Kushina is alive. What? Where was she? Why wasn't she there for her son? She was just released this morning, and instead of just telling you I'm just going to use a genjutsu to show you my memory. Flashing through several different seals, he touches the Hokage's forehead muttering the name of the jutsu, Dream of Memory Jutsu. Flashback. Skull appears back in his apartment using his fire teleportation technique. Deciding to check on his apprentice, he walks towards Naruto's room. What he sees shocks him to the core, a red chakra wrapping around his new student. However, as quickly as it came, it just disappeared. What's going on? Is this the fox's doing? Skull mumbles out, worried over his apprentice. Well, there's only one way to find out. Flashing through 20 different seals, Skull then touches Naruto's head. Oh great, just great, his mind is a sewer. Might as well get to the bottom of this, Skull says, walking down the many corridors to find his apprentice. Mom? Yes, Naruto, it's me, replies a voice that he knew all too well. Kushina? How? Skull asks himself, hearing the voice of a person he had thought dead long ago. End flashback. It was not long after Naruto had woken up that Kushina had discovered herself outside of the seal, reports Skull. I also discovered the seal placed on my student was not the one that the fourth, Minato Namikaze, used to defeat his wife. That would explain some things, the aged leader replies, leaning back in his chair taking a puff from his pipe. Explain what, old man Hokage, asks Naruto, curiosity clearly written across his face. Why he chose you to seal your mother, he could have actually sealed her in himself, thus taking her with him to the other side, Sarutobi says, standing up from his desk and walking over to the window behind his desk, looking at the faces of his predecessors and successor. I thought that by sealing the Kyuubi, your mother, inside of you, that he was making a weapon for the village. I was wrong. You got that right, you old fart, shouts out Kushina, who had just arrived in a swirl of leaves. And Skull, next time you say something like that again I will enjoy slowly skinning you alive, growls out the great demon lord. As amusing as this is, we still have a major security risk that needs looking into, says the aged leader, still looking out the Hokage monument. Kushina, I am glad that you are alive and a part of your son's life. And as I understand it, Skull, and I need to examine your son's seal, to check for any kind of threat to him or this village, right? That seems to be the summed up version of why we're here. Also, what is to be done about Kushina? If she reveals that she is alive, it will open a can of worms that none have wished to open of yet, says Skull, twirling a kunai in his hand. You must be anxious, Skull. I haven't seen you twirl a kunai in your hand since the death of your little brother, replies the aged leader, looking at Skull's hand with great interest. I am Lord Hokage, I never really got over his death, however I will not let his death ruin the relationship with the family I have now, declares Skull, looking towards Kushina and her son. They are all that remains of my family. I still remember when you were a genin, Kushina, how I always acted like the older brother, instead of your Junin sensei. Ahem, as much as I would hate to ruin this tender moment, but Skull has made a valid point. If you claim your son now, a massive civil war will erupt. Many will be wishing to commit mutiny, giving the civilian council what they need to declare absolute power over Konoha. And we cannot allow that to happen. We will have to find a way to undermine their power to where we can take back control over our village with little to no bloodshed, Sarutobi says, turning back to look at the monument. Then what do we do, Lord Hokage, asks Kushina, lost as to what to do. For now we play the waiting game, and wait for the opportune time to strike. I want to take out Danzo and the civilian council in one strike. Also, from what you told me, you can take the form of a small woodland fox. Getting a nod from Kushina, he continues. Good. You will be the fourth unofficial member of Squad 7 as Naruto's combat partner. I see, so that way if Kakashi puts Naruto in a dangerous situation, she will be able to protect, while I for instance won't be able to without blowing up this whole operation, replies Skull. Naruto, spend the rest of your day with your mother, we will start your training tomorrow. Lord Hokage, since I haven't touched a seal of this caliber in over a decade, I will trust you with this seal. With that, Skull leaves the office in swirl of flames, earning a shout from his student. Man, I hopes he teaches me that. And I'm sure that he will, Sarutobi replies, taking a seat behind his desk. Naruto, I'd like to inspect your seal later with Skull present. He is still a seal master, and the only one that I trust with this matter. But I know what he said, Naruto, interrupts the third, but the only reason he said that was because he is too emotional to really concentrate at the moment. What do you mean? Think of this way, Naruto, he finally discovers that your mother, who he thinks of as a little sister, is alive after 12 years of searching. Furthermore, not even 3 days ago he finds the child he wanted to adopt shortly after his mother's supposed disappearance, abandoned by his teammates. He's going through a lot of negative emotions right now, some at himself, others at certain disgraceful leaders of this village. Right now he needs to work out his emotions, which I hope that he chooses Area 44, the aged leader says, rubbing his temples. Any reason why you want him to use that training ground? Kushina asks, wondering what the old man was up to. Simple, it's the only training ground that can handle him when he goes all out, replies the professor as he shuffles through some of his papers. Oh yay, if I remember correctly, the last time he went to sort out his emotions nearly all the ninjas signed a petition to have him banned from the training grounds, says Kushina. The last time her Junin sensei went out to clear his head, which usually meant a completely demolished training ground. And I remember that event most clearly myself. If I also remember correctly, most of our shinobi went without a proper training ground for nearly a month. Sarutobi replies with an agitated voice, due to all the paperwork that whole event caused for him. What are we supposed to do now, old man? Asks Naruto. Well, for one, Naruto, you need to go and buy some new clothes. Those pajamas won't last very long if you try to train in those. Also, we need to find a way for you to disguise your changes, your height, hair, facial, claws, and so on from certain villagers and shinobi such as Kakashi, the aged leader says. Kushina, I'll leave in charge of that, along with getting to know your son better. I would you recommend that you go now, so that you'll make it to your team meeting, if you can call it that. What changes is he talking about? Naruto thought to himself, as his eyebrow rose in question. Noticing the confusion on the boy's face, the third explains, Naruto, when the suppression seal was released, your body went through some changes to make up for what was taken away from it. If you want, there is a full mirror in the closet where I keep my spare cage robes and hat. Taking up the third's offer, Naruto jumps out of his seat and runs over to closet. Ripping the closet door open, he examines his reflection. Gone was the short child that he remembered, who was constantly picked on because of his size. In his place stood a young teen that was quite tall for his age. Gone was his sun-kissed blonde hair. In its place, a mess of spiky, dusty blonde hair with fiery red streaks running through it. Gone were those puny arms that held no muscle. In its place were the arms of a healthy shinobi in his early stages of training. Gone was his baby face with his adorable little whisker that made people think of him as just a little kid. In their place, a masculine face with a feral set of markings giving him the look of a dangerous predator. Gone was the horrendous orange jumpsuit. In its place, a plain black t-shirt and black cotton shorts with many hidden pockets. The only that hadn't completely changed were his sky blue eyes. The only visible difference to the naked eye was that his pupil is now slits like a cat. Oh, my little Naruto has grown up into such a big man, Kushina says in a baby voice, pinching one of his checks from behind as he stares at himself in the mirror. Mom, stop it, Naruto shouts out in embarrassment to his mother, while the third just laughs happily at the reunited mother and son. I'd hate to ruin the moment and all, but you two have some things to do. Naruto, Skull left you a bandana, sunglasses, and a mask so you can run around the village for some time without having to wear some kind of illusion over yourself. I'm also going to have to look up for some kind of technique that will hide all of your physical changes from the Sharingan and Byakugan, which however I don't know any that exist at this moment, Sarutobi says, letting out a deep breath of frustration. I know one, replies Naruto, nervously scratching the back of his head. Really, who taught you it? Kushina asks her son. Old men remember when I had trouble with the transformation technique in the academy, Naruto says, starting to look really nervous. Yes, I remember that quite well. It took you almost a year for you to get it right, the third says, taking a few puffs from his pipe, wondering where this was going. Well, the reason why it took so long was because I was creating a technique that actually transforms the user into what they want to. It isn't an illusion at all. Naruto replies, scratching the back of his head again. Ha ha ha. I always wondered how you were able to hide from the Hyuga and Uchiha when you pulled one of your bigger pranks on them. Sarutobi says, laughing so hard that he had to hold his side. I still remember when you put hot pink hair dye in the Uchiha shampoo. They refused to leave their compound for a month. Oh, I also remember that time you put itching powder into the Hyuga's laundry. They were walking like they had a kunai stuck up their rear for about a month. Hey, with most of the Hyugas, You actually think that there is something stuck up there for them to act so snobbish. Well, except for Hinata and Hiyashi, they don't treat everyone else like they're dirt, Naruto says in his defense. Well, that solves one of our problems. Kushina, the aged leader, says, turning to the woman that he's starting a conversation with. Yes, Lord Hokage, Kushina replies. Kushina, I also recommend that you go clothes shopping yourself, since a hospital gown is not appropriate attire out in public. Unless of course you're in your fox form. He replies, a slight perverted grin on his face. Looking down, she notices that what the Hokage said was true. A deep blush spreads across his face, embarrassed that she's caught only in a hospital gown. As soon as she gets control over her blush, a question appears. Deciding to go with it, she asks, just wondering how am I supposed to pay for a new outfit? In case you haven't noticed, I'm supposedly dead, so I just can't walk into the bank and make a withdrawal. You don't need to worry about that, Kushina, replies the third with a wave of his hand. Naruto has been living off an allowance from me ever since he was 3. You will also receive an allowance. You can pay me back if you feel the need to by doing some extra D-rank missions. Since you know the Shadow Clone Jutsu, you'll have me paid back in no time. Thank you, sir, Kushina gratefully says with a small bow of respect. Think nothing of it, the third replies, tossing Kushina a small pouch stuffed full of bills. There should be enough for both you and Naruto to get a couple of new outfits. I recommend that you both use disguises so no one will recognize you. Now get going, and Naruto made sure that your disguise is properly in place. Yes, sir, shouts out Kushina, grabbing her son's shoulder with her right hand, disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Noticing that he was alone in his office, the third gets a large perverted grin on his face and shouts out in glee, now I can get some work done. With that done, the aged leader reaches into a secret compartment, pulling out a little orange book. About 50 yards away from Training Ground 7, Kushina and her son appeared in a swirl of leaves. Transforming into a small fox, Kushina jumps onto her son's shoulders, wrapping herself protectively around his neck. Okay, let's do this. Transform, shouts out Naruto, being enveloped in puff of smoke. When the smoke clears, a short blonde child in an orange jumpsuit is standing in Naruto's place. Oh, those whiskers make you look so cute, cries out Kushina in a girly voice. I'm surprised you didn't have a fan club because of those. It would have never happened, Mom. Mostly everybody was told to stay away from me. The ones who weren't were told to pick on me any chance they could get, and man did they try, Naruto says, scratching his mother's ears. I'm sorry about that, Naruto, Kushina says, all the while leaning into her son's hand, purring. Don't worry about that, Mom. I'm more concerned about you purring. I mean, I thought you were a fox, not a cat, Naruto replies, chuckling at his mother's purring. His smart remark was met with a sharp bite on the ear. For your information, I was growling in satisfaction, not purring, and if you tell anyone about this. Oh, let's just say that you don't want to know, Kushina growls out, her eyes beginning to glow an eerie red. Okay, I was just joking, little kitty, Naruto says, laughing. Ow. Naruto, get going or you're going to be late by that asshole's standards, Kushina says, getting herself comfortable on her son's shoulders. Yes, Mom, Naruto says, taking off, running towards the training field that his team uses. I just hope that no one notices anything. Arriving at the training field, he notices his team doing the same as they always do. Sasuke was sitting there brooding, while his other teammate Sakura was practically worshipping the ground the Uchiha stood on. Noticing the arrival of her other teammate, Sakura decided to take her frustration out on him. Naruto, you're late, you loser. She never got to finish her sentence as the sound of an angered animal growling reached her ears. What the hell is that? Oh, her. I found her in the woods a few weeks ago, hurt really bad. I've been nursing her back to health. She seems to really like me, Naruto says, laughing happily as she licked his cheek affectionately. She's also really protective of me, Sakura, so it might not be good to make any threatening gestures towards me. You're still a loser, Naruto, Sakura shouts out, turning around, and heads towards her precious Uchiha. Thanks, Mom. You know I can't think of any reason why I really like her at all, Naruto says, scratching the fox behind her ears. You don't need to thank me, Naruto. And as for the pink banshee, I think that seal really screwed with your head, Kushina says, leaning into her son's hand, enjoying having that spot scratched immensely. Yay, I think so too, says Naruto, trying to think up of some other times where the seal had messed up with his judgment. Oh crap, whispers out Naruto. What is it, Naruto? His mother asks, whispering also. I'm a whiz or whatever, was such an idiot, Naruto says, slapping his forehead in frustration. Aw man, the entire time I had a girl who had a major crush on me ever since I can remember. Who is she? Kushina asks her son, acting like any typical mother would when they find out their kid had a love life of any kind. She the only Hyuga that doesn't treat everyone like they're dirt, she also the Hiashi's oldest daughter. Naruto tells his mother, frustrated over the fact that he messed up. Oh, is it that Hinata girl that seems so fascinated with you? Kushina asks. Yes, answers Naruto. Before Kushina could ask her son any more questions, Kakashi decided to make his grand appearance, appearing in a swirl of leaves. Yo! Kakashi greets everybody with his upside-down eye smile. You're late, shouts out the pink-haired banshee of the team. Sorry I'm late, but on my way here I saw this mime asking for directions, so I had to act them out for him before I remember that I wasn't a mime and just told him. Kakashi replies with a bored look on his face. Liar, the banshee screeches out. Whatever, we have a few D-ranks missions that we have to do, says Kakashi with a look of boredom on his face. Oh yay, and Naruto. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto says, acting the young gullible child he was just a few days ago. And the Academy Award for Actor of the Year goes to Naruto, I'm so proud of him. Kushina says to herself, inside her head crying fake tears of happiness, while on the outside a foxy grin appears on her muzzle. Next time leave the mangy mud at home, Kakashi says, returning his attention back to his book. Actually sensei, I have permission from the old man Hokage himself to bring her with me. Naruto replies, scratching his mother behind her ears, hoping to calm her down. Ah, whatever, Kakashi says, shrugging his shoulders, just keep it away from me. Alright sensei. Mom, you alright? Naruto asks his mother in a whisper. If Minato was here he would have shoved a Rasengan up his ass. Kushina growls out in anger, her eyes glowing blood red. It's okay mom, all we have to do is put with for 3 hours, then that's it, Naruto says. Why, when Kakashi was on your father's team, Minato spent up to 6 hours training everyone on the team. Even after the training was done, your father had them do some exercises they had to do before they went to sleep so that they could stay in shape better, and also get stronger faster, Kushina remarks, barely able to keep her anger in check. You think that you can teach me those exercises mom? I'll be glad to Naruto, but I'll let Skull be your sensei. Seeing her son's head lower she continues, and I'll just cover anything that he can't teach you. What do you mean by that mom? Simple really, Kushina replies, he sucks at genjutsu. He can't use any real complex ones due to the high amount of chakra control one requires to use those. However, those he can use, he uses them quite well. What do you mean mom? He asks. Skull's favorite genjutsu has no real name, and if you have decent chakra control it requires no hand signs. This genjutsu screws with one's sense of balance. If uses with taijutsu it ensures a complete victory, unless your opponent has a dojutsu in their arsenal. Couldn't a simple release work? Naruto asks his mother. Yes it would, but by the time you bring your hands into the sign you're already dead. Just about the same amount of enemy shinobi lost their lives to this jutsu as to the flying thunder god. Because of his stealth he left no trace that he was ever there to begin with. The only reason I know is because on a mission I've seen him take out a whole platoon of Iwa Junin. How come the jutsu wasn't as famous as dad's? Easy, any simple academy student could do it with enough practice. Also your father's jutsu was much more flashy and easier to recognize. I mean, when was the last time you heard a whole shinobi nation went into a panic because of a genjutsu? I guess you're right. Genjutsu is always overlooked because it doesn't kill your opponent in a very flashy way. Hey, if it was so easy then why didn't they teach it to everyone? I mean, wouldn't it have made a big difference in the war? You see, Skull tried to teach everyone that technique, but nobody wanted to learn it. Everyone was always trying to learn some flashy powerful ninjutsu. After a while he decided to never teach anyone any of his personal techniques. Any chance he might teach me some of his? Naruto asks, eager to learn something new. He might, you better hurry up before Kakashi starts to get suspicious, Kushina says, bringing her son back to the present. Taking his mother's advice to heart, Naruto takes off running to catch up with his team. Hey, wait for me, Naruto shouts out. So Kakashi-sensei, what's the mission? Hope it's something that's really cool. You'll see, Kakashi says, chuckling to himself, his nose still buried in his book. I'm going to kill this cat. shout out the enraged blonde, holding a cat at arm's length. Come on Naruto, be a team player, Kakashi replies, still reading his smut. Then why did I get stuck catching the Dane cat? I mean, look at my face, Naruto cries out, pointing at his face that's covered in scratches. You could have at least warned me. I thought you were a ninja, Naruto. If those scratches are too much for you, you might as well quit being a ninja, Kakashi says, turning a page in his book, all the while sending Naruto glares full of hate every so often. Hey, isn't it the superior's job to warn his subordinates of the dangers that they'll face of the mission? Naruto shouts out to Kakashi, trying to the best of his ability to get in Kakashi's face. To everyone's surprise, Kakashi grabs Naruto by the front of his jumpsuit, and lifts Naruto up to his level, so that Naruto can look into his eye. Naruto, I'm a Junin and you are a Genin, who do you think is more qualified to call the shots? If you forget as your Junin sensei, I can expel you from the shinobi program, Kakashi says in an ice-cold tone. Now get out of my face, I don't want to see you till tomorrow. And with that, Naruto heads towards the village. Sasuke, come, I got a new fire jutsu to teach you, Kakashi says, walking away with Sasuke following him, leaving Sakura alone. Man, what a jerk, Naruto says in frustration, letting out a sigh. He continues, oh well, we might as well get our shopping done. Dropping the jutsu, Naruto reaches into his pouch placed on his right hip, pulling out what skull left him. Naruto puts them on. I agree with you, Kushina says, transforming into her human form. Mom, are you forgetting something? Naruto asks, pointing at her hospital gown. Don't worry about that, I'll just use your transformation jutsu. From what I've seen, it only requires more chakra to use, Kushina says, initializing the technique, transform. They're better now, Kushina asks her son. Yeah, I don't think anyone will recognize you, Naruto says. Where his mother stood now stands an average-size brown-hair, black-eyed kunoichi, who wore the average outfit that most Junin chose to wear. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that you're someone else. Thanks. So you want to get some clothes first, since you're really wearing a hospital gown? Sure. As Kushina and Naruto leave his office, the third Hokage pulls out an orange book. And with a perverted grin on his face, he says, now to get some work done. While the third is picking up where he left off in his book, a mysterious figure appears from the shadows. Leaning over the old man's shoulders, the figure whispers, never knew the Hokage was such a pervert. Jumping in surprise, Sarutobi shouts out, don't do that. Clutching his heart, he continues, Skull, please don't do that again. Alright, you old goat, I won't sneak up on you again anytime soon. Thank you. By the way, what are you doing here? I thought that you'd be in the forest of death, he asks, putting his book back where he got it from. I already blew off most of my steam. I just came here to let you know of who I chose to be Naruto's substitute sensei when he has a mission outside of the village. So who did you pick? Asks the aged leader, getting ready to dig out his or her folder to see if Skull had made a wise choice. I picked her because she has to put up with the same shit from the villagers as Naruto does, albeit not as bad as he tends to get it. Well, who is she? Asks the Hokage. Well, her name is. With Naruto and Kushina. So mom, what do you want to do? Naruto asks his mother in his new outfit, which consisted of black Anbu-style pants, with a large assortment of pockets, a black shirt. Under his shirt he wore a type of scale-like armor. The armor was designed so that with a shirt over it no one would know he was wearing it. He still wore the bandana, sunglasses, and mask that Skull got for him. Along with his new black shinobi sandals, he wore a black trench coat with a red nine-tailed fox on the back. Well, let's see, how about we go do some light training? I might teach you something, says Kushina, still using the transformation jutsu. Ah, just wondering, why are you still using that illusion? Naruto asks. Because someone might recognize me. It might not have been public knowledge that your father and I were married, but Minato and I were always running around together. And when word got out that I was pregnant, everyone automatically knew Minato was the father, though many weren't happy about it, Kushina explains to her son. Why's that, mom? Many of the shinobi clans were after your father's jutsus. Your father was very cautious of both the civilian and the ninja clans. Many women tried to get your father to have unprotected with them, so that they would get knocked up, Kushina says to her son. All of that for a few jutsus? Naruto asks his mother in disbelief. It wasn't just for the jutsus. Your father was also the fourth Hokage, the greatest hero from the third great shinobi war. Many of the clans, especially the civilians, tried to get Minato married into their clans, hoping to gain more power by using your father's title of Hokage. Talk about being shallow. Yay, your father never dared to enter a bar, afraid that he would get extremely drunk or somehow got drugged. I mean, imagine going out to hang out with your friends, the next week or month have a woman who claims to be pregnant with your child, and she uses that unborn child as blackmail against you to force you to marry her. I see why Dad was so careful, says Naruto. Well, here we are, Kushina says. Where are we? Naruto asks his mother. Your father's private training grounds. He never trusted those with the Sharingan, well except for his one student, but he never did activate it. Or at least I think he didn't, Kushina answers deep in thought about the past. So what should I do first? Well, Naruto, the first thing you should do is to stretch. As a ninja you should stretch your muscles every 4 to 5 hours every day. Cause of the intense training a shinobi has to do to stay in shape and get stronger. Also, you never know when you will be ambushed, so it's best to keep your muscles loose. Your body can take damage a lot easier when the muscles are looser, and it's also a fact that your reaction time is at its highest when you're loosened up, lectures Kushina, remembering word for word her sensei, Skull, had to say on the importance of stretching. Just wondering how stretching increases your reflexes, Naruto asks with an eyebrow raised. When you're stretched out, blood flows through your body better, allowing you to react quicker, Kushina says, getting out of her lecture mode. Okay, Naruto says, starting to do the stretches that he taught in the academy. After doing all of the stretches that he can think of, Naruto looks at his mother and asks, so what now? How about a spar, so you can get better used to your sudden growth spurt? What do you mean? Naruto asks his mother, trying to hide his blush of embarrassment. Oh come on, anyone could tell that you were tripping over your own feet the whole time, says Kushina, playfully punching her son in the arm. You did get used to it quite fast, but that was only walking. We're talking about running, jumping and dodging and other things a ninja has to do in a fight. Okay, Naruto replies, a bit hesitant about fighting his mother. Come on Naruto, I thought that you liked to train? Didn't you say you were going to be the greatest Hokage ever, even better than your father? I do like to train, and I am going to be the greatest Hokage ever. It's just that I really don't know any taijutsu styles. Don't worry about that, Skull, or I will teach you one of our fighting styles. Though you probably won't be able to Skull's form of taijutsu, says Kushina, reassuring her son. Why's that, Mom? Naruto asks his mother. Skull's fighting style relies on pure speed, strength, and being a hell of a lot taller than your opponent. The first two, anyone can achieve if they work hard for it. But you'd have to wait till you reach your full height before you can use it. Who taught Skull it, and what's its name? From what Skull has told me, it's a fighting style that he had created himself, due to his immense size. Its name, well, I don't think he ever really did give her it a name that I know of, Kushina answers. Why would his size require him to make up his own taijutsu style? Naruto asks, confused on how someone's height affected their taijutsu. You know that there are many types of fighting styles out there, right? As she receives a nod from her son, she continues, each style is made for a person of a certain build and characteristics. Huh, Naruto replies, tilting his head to the side. Letting out a sigh, she continues on with her explanation. The style taught at the academy is for your average size shinobi, and is not too specified to certain things. Like what? Naruto asks, curious to learn more. Well, some people are better with a fighting style where there's a lot of kicking, others it could be mostly upper body, some even prefer those that have a lot of grapples mixed in with the style, and there are a few that can only be used by those with certain bloodlines. I still don't understand how someone's size affects what type of style someone needs. I understand what you were saying about people, and how they like certain a type of taijutsu with certain things in it. Well, let's see, I'm trying to remember exactly how Skull had said it. Okay, that sounds about like what he said. Well, according to Skull, each style of taijutsu was created by one person or sometimes by a small group of people. These people were of a certain build. And because of how they were shaped, they made their fighting style so their bodies could be used to their fullest abilities. Okay, Naruto replies. Let's get this spar started, shall we? Kushina asks, getting into a ready stance, waiting for her son to charge her. Hokage Tower. Are you sure you want her to be Naruto's substitute sensei? Asks Sarutobi, not even bothering to pull out her file, due to knowing her personally. Yes, I'm quite sure, sir. She holds nothing against the boy, and in fact she is sympathetic for the kid. Yes, she is known for the fact that she doesn't like you. She'll let you know either by flat out telling you or through demonstration. And from what I've seen of her, all she does is tease him, like an older sister would. Though she will be hard on him and expect to push himself past his limits time and time again, the aged leader says, taking a puff from his pipe. It'll do him some good, since from what I'm told she is far more sadistic than I can be, replies Skull. Since you are here, Skull, would you like me to send someone to go pick up Naruto and Kushina, so you can examine the seal? Sarutobi asks, reaching into his drawer to pull out his crystal ball. No, give him this day just to be with his mother, Skull answers in an odd tone. There's more to your reason than you're telling me, is there? Of course there is, replies Skull, not even denying it. As Naruto's sensei, I'd be obligated to tell you about the seal. And you as the Hokage have the sacred duty to protect the village from any harm, both internal and external. And if Naruto posed as a threat to the village, it would be your job to neutralize him any way necessary, even if it means killing him. You think the seal has been altered that badly? All I'm doing is preparing for the worst. If the seal has been altered that dangerously, it will fall into your duty to neutralize that threat, no matter what. I see what you mean, and I hate to agree with you. But you are right, if Naruto does become that much of a threat towards the village, then I would have to kill him, he agrees with a great amount of grief in his voice. Now you see why I want to give Naruto at least a day to be with his mother. Yes, I agree immensely with your decision on the matter, though I do wish to give them some more time to be together, Sarutobi says with his head lowered in guilt. I wish that none of this happened. Minato would still the Hokage, Kushina being the mother she always wanted to be, Naruto having a great childhood with both of his parents being spoiled rotten by the village because of who his father is, and me still in retirement enjoying what time I have with my family. We all wish for many things not to have happened. I even have a laundry list myself, of things that I never wished to happen. All we can do is pick up the pieces and try to move on with our lives, replies Skull with a voice full of remorse. It's sad but true. With Naruto and Kushina, you're doing a lot better now, Kushina tells her son as she blocks a quick series of jabs. Remember, using quick jabs is a good way to test out your opponent's guard. Some people are good enough that all they need is 2 or 3 jabs, then, bam, they found your weak spot in your style. That's so cool, Naruto enthusiastically says. Alright Naruto, now throw in some low kicks. The best place would be the knee, explains to her son. Why's that? The knee is a very important piece of any stance or strike. With an injured knee, a shinobi would have a hard time getting into any particular stance. Also, it would be near impossible for them to kick or punch properly, if the knee receives enough damage. How do you know so much, Mom? Well, when you have lived as long as I have, you learn a few things, Kushina answers with a big grin plastered on his face. Let me guess, Skull taught you all of that, Naruto says with his arms crossed over his chest. Yes, he did, his mother admits, embarrassed that she had been caught trying to fool him, scratching the back of her head just like her son does when he is embarrassed. How does Skull know all of this stuff? Skull is the type of guy that, before he tries anything out, he studies whatever he can get his hands on about the subject. That's why he's considered such a dangerous ninja. He constantly studies his opponents, learning whatever he can about them. At one point in time he was supposedly head of the Hunter Nin squad, but he never did tell me if it was true or not. So how strong is Skull Sensei, Mom? I really don't know, he's really secretive about certain things. And one of them is his skill level. Heck, he even keeps most of his jutsus a secret. The third is the only person that I know of that has seen most of his jutsu. Why is he so secretive? I don't really know, but from what I was able to piece together of what he told us, I would say he didn't have a very happy life. What happened? Naruto, Skull's past is a pretty gruesome one, he hardly ever talks about it. It took me years to even get an idea of what happened to him, and I'm not even sure if I'm right. Okay, what do you think he'll teach me? Naruto asks, trying to change the subject, all the while taking his mother's advice, throwing in a few jabs before sending a low kick towards her knee. Seeing this coming, Kushina jumps back a good distance from her son. That was good, Naruto, you forced me to jump back to avoid taking damage to my knee. While I jumped backwards, you could have used a jutsu to either finish me off or do some good damage. Hearing his mother's praise caused something that not too many people claim to have ever seen. A smile, not one of his forced ones but one of true smiles. A smile that showed a tortured soul finally getting what it always wanted, love. Not the type of love you get from a friend, not the type of love you get from any kind of fame, or the type of love you get from a lover. But it was the type of love that only a mother can give. Seeing this brought tears to her eyes. I'm so sorry, Naruto. I swear I'll do whatever it takes to make it up to you. Hokage Tower. Skull, I've been meaning to ask you something, the third asks the giant of a man. And what would that be? I know that this is a very personal matter, but have you ever considered remarrying? You are the last of your clan. If you were to die today, this village would forever lose one of its greatest assassination clans. Sarutobi asks carefully, knowing how touchy Skull was on the subject of his personal life. Letting out a deep sigh, Skull answers the Hokage's question, you know that I won't ever remarry. She was the only one for me, and as for an heir, well, I would have one if it wasn't for that clan. You still haven't forgiven the Hyuga clan, have you? The clan itself, I have never held it against them. As for their elders who I blame for her death, yes, I still haven't forgiven them. Skull, I know it must be hell for you to lose your wife while she was carrying your first child. You have no idea, you old piece of shit. Skull shouts out in rage. Skull, please, calm down. I was just thinking of the future of your clan, and the future of the village. If you do die without an heir, the council will take all of your clan scrolls and give them to Sasuke or Kakashi. Maybe even give away to some of the other clans as well. Sir, my clan is long gone. We thought that by coming here we would have a better life. But all we just were treated like we were prisoners of war. We were constantly harassed and attacked. Skull, I was there, doing whatever I could. But my hands were tied, I couldn't do anything to save them, replies Sarutobi. You and your brother were the only ones that survived the massacre. We were only defending ourselves, they attacked us first. They saw us as a threat, because we were just as powerful as they were without their fancy bloodlines. Growls out Skull, still enraged by these events of the past. I know that, Skull, but the village as a whole didn't. They saw your clan as a threat. You know that they twisted the truth so that we wound up as the villains. We were within our rights, they wanted our techniques for their own. Skull, please move on with your life. According to the laws that concern a near-extinct shinobi clan without a bloodline, you will have to have an heir before you reach 40, or all of your techniques will be divided amongst our major clans. Skull, you're 45 years old, I won't be able to keep them off your back forever. Rumors already have been spreading like wildfire about your return, and if you don't come up with an heir soon, the council will force you fork over all of your clan's techniques. Does the law state that it has to be a blood relative? Skull asks, knowing he would have to find an heir, if he wanted to keep his clan secrets away from the council. Skull, the law only states that you have to find someone who will inherit all of your clan's techniques, that's all it demands. You can choose anyone, you don't need the council to approve of your heir, answers the third Hokage. Good, cuz I don't give a crap as to what they think. Skull replies, not in the mood to be dealing with the village council at the moment. With Naruto and Kushina. You've gotten a lot better, Naruto, says Kushina, giving her son much praise for his accomplishments. You just need to do a lot more sparring. And with me and Skull around, I think you'll have all the sparring partners you will ever need. Thanks, Mom. I just can't believe how good I am at that style of taijutsu. What was its name again? Naruto asks his mother as they head back towards the village to get something to eat. It's called the Fox's Dance, and very few people are able to do it. It requires a lot of flexibility, speed, and to be able to think right on spot. That last one makes it hard for your opponent to guess what you're trying to do next. Yeah, that's so cool, I like all of those kicks and grapples. I never thought a style like that existed, Naruto says enthusiastically. He was still acted the same way, just not to such an extreme. Receiving the attention he so desperately needed calmed him down to a much more manageable degree. With the seal gone now, Naruto was able to concentrate on things far more easily than he had ever thought possible. Maybe after we eat I'll teach you a jutsu that I know. What is it? What is it? Shouts out Naruto, before calming himself down, causing his mother to giggle at his antics. It's a jutsu that your father created, but I never mastered it. Tell me please, Naruto begs his mother, desperate to have something that would connect him to his father. It's the Rasengan, it's an A-rank jutsu. But, before I can teach you it, I have to get your chakra control up. This jutsu requires quite a bit of control and a hell of a lot of chakra, which of course you have in spades. So Naruto, where do you want to eat? Kushina asks her son. Well, there's only one place that I really eat out at, It's the only place I don't have to worry about anyone trying to either poisoning me or trying to kick me out. Naruto tells his mother with his disguise back in place. So what's its name? Ichiraku Ramen, was all that Naruto said. Figures, mumbles out Kushina. What do you mean, Mom? When your father and I started dating we would met there at Ichiraku Ramen every day for lunch. Why? Naruto asks his mother. Let's see, ramen is cheap and delicious, and due to our careers as being shinobis it was hard to date someone who could possibly die the very next day. So we tried to at the very least have lunch together every day. So you guys at least had one date every day? Yep, the love life of a shinobi sucks. One moment you're with the love of your life thinking that nothing will be able to separate you. Then the next, you're at their funeral paying your respects as his name is being added to the memorial stone. That's why your father and I meet there every day for at least one bowl of ramen for lunch, and once a week he would take me out to someplace fancy. So you and Dad only went out to eat at nice places once a week? Yep, he did, but that doesn't count all of the picnics and other things we did. Naruto, going on a date does not mean that you out to nice restaurant to eat. You go somewhere just to have fun and hang out with the one you love. But you also have to remember that a girl likes to get pampered, so every once in a while try to treat like royalty. Kushina says as the applies her disguise as well. Royalty my ass, you are the biggest tomboy I have had ever seen, shouts out a booming voice from the trees up above. And in fact in many ways you still are, Naruto, be prepared, your mom dresses, and for the most part, acts like a guy. Hell, the only time I have ever seen her in a dress was during her wedding, which she had burned immediately after. Skull, shut up, shouts out Kushina. You were a tomboy, Naruto asks his mother in confusion. And she still is, or haven't you noticed that most of the clothes she bought could be mistaken for men's clothes? Skull tells Naruto, ducking a swing from the boy's mother. Hell, I'll bet you 5 bowls of ramen that she didn't even buy a dress. Thinking about what his sensei had told him, Naruto had come to realize that his sensei was right. I actually think that's cool. Why's that, Naruto? Kushina asks, confused. Most kids are embarrassed if their mom was a tomboy. Well, Naruto says, scratching the back of his head, I'd never have to wear ridiculous clothes that most kids are forced to wear by their moms. I mean, come, have you seen what some of these kids are forced to wear? I would rather die than be caught in that. On to more important matters, where you two heading to? Skull asks his previous and current student. Just going out to get some ramen, Naruto answers his sensei. You want to come along? Sure, I had something to talk to you two about anyway. Skull replies as he shrugs his shoulders. So what is it? Kushina asks her sensei as they head towards the ramen stand. Patience, Kushina, patience. Sometimes I wonder if I ever taught you anything at all? Sorry about that, sensei. Kushina quickly apologizes to her sensei, embarrassed that she was be chastised like when she was a genin. No need to apologize for that, Kushina. At times I'm just as bad, if not worse, than you are, Skull replies. Hey Mom, Naruto asks. Yes, Naruto, Kushina says. Can I ask you something, and please try not to take this the wrong way, Naruto asks. Well, you already did, Kushina answers, causing Skull to snicker behind his mask because of the annoyed look on Naruto's face. Sorry about that, I couldn't resist. Skull did that a lot to me and my teammates. So what was it that you wanted to ask? Scratching his head in an embarrassed manner, Naruto asks. Well, I was just wondering why you are such a tomboy. I mean, from what Skull Sensei had just said, you were pretty much a guy, well, except for obvious reasons. You know that in my fox form everyone thinks I'm a guy, right? Yeah, Naruto answers. Well, Naruto, people tend to be very sexist, and many thought that because I was a female that I could never be considered the strongest demon in existence, even after all the hundreds of times I entered into tournaments to prove how strong I was. So I faked being a male and proved to them all that I actually was the strongest. And after a while it became who I was. Hurry up, you two, Skull shouts out, last one there pays. As Kushina and Naruto look at one another, both break out in a large fox-like grin covering their whole face. Breaking the sound barrier, and the two of them take off in a burst of pure speed. Standing there in complete shock, Skull just stares at where the mother and son once were. Suddenly reality had hit him like one of Tsunade's punches. Oh hell no, I am not paying for those two gluttons. Skull hollers out, taking off as fast as his legs could handle, leaving a blurry after image of him. Pardon me for asking, Lord Hokage, but why have you called for a council meeting today? Asks one of the council members. I have called you all here today on account of all of the rumors concerning the return of the last known member of the Sendo clan, states the third Hokage, as a roar of murmurs went through the council. Many had thought that the last Sendo ran from the village, and took all the clan's techniques with him. Has he returned as the rumors said that he had, speaks out a civilian council member, excited over the fact that of what kind of the power the Sendo clan once had. Yes, it is true, Menboku Sendo, otherwise known as Skull, has indeed returned to the village from his mission, answers the Hokage as excitement runs wild through the council. And there is more, Menboku Sendo has taken on an heir to help him carry on his clan. To prevent another incident with the Sendo clan, the boy who Mr. Sendo has adopted will keep his last name and will not take on the Sendo name until he enters the Chunin exam. Lord Hokage, may it be noted that the Sendo clan instigated that incident that led to the death of nearly the whole clan, speaks out Hiyashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan. Are you saying it because it's true, or because you hold Skull responsible for your aunt's death? Questions the third, knowing that he's treading in some dangerous waters. Their marriage was forbidden, and they knew it. The elders were doing what was best for the clan, preserving our bloodline. So you condone the murder of a pregnant woman, if it meant keeping the Byakugan in your clan only, am I right? Questions the Hokage. Killer intent filling the council chambers, causing every member of the council to have difficulty breathing. Arriving at Ichiraku ramen stand, Skull nearly passes out from the sight that meets him there at the ramen stand. There sitting on the counter was a mountain of empty bowls of ramen. Deciding to mourn for his money later, Skull sit on the right side of Naruto, placing him in between the two ramen addicts. "One chicken ramen please," booms out Skull's voice. "Sure thing," Yame answers with a smile. "It'll be just a few minutes." "Thank you, would it be too much trouble if I can have something to drink?" Skull asks in a very polite tone. "No problem, what would you like to drink?" "A glass of water would do nicely." Whispering to his mother, Naruto asks, "What's up with him?" "Skull's always like this with people he doesn't fully know," Kushina answers. "It's just how he is, like I told you before, Skull studies everything, and since he doesn't know her he's being very formal and careful until he understands what makes her tick. I wonder what he's like when he's around someone he doesn't like." "Believe me Naruto, you do not want to find out." Reaching over his shoulder, Skull pulls his hood over his head. Making sure that the hood was securely covering his mask, he grips the front of his mask, taking the front half off. With his face hidden in the shadows of his hood, Skull brings the glass of water to his lips and takes a few sips. "So is that how he eats?" Naruto asks his mother. "Yep, my teammates and I stopped trying to unmask him not even a week after we began to try." "Why?" asks Naruto. "Let's just say, he's very convincing," Kushina stats, a blush of embarrassment coming across her face. "What did he do?" "I threw her over the men's side of the fence at the hot springs. And I threw her male teammates over the woman's side of the fence. Let's just say that they never tried that again," Skull replies with his face still hidden deep in his hood. "Man, that's evil," was all Naruto was able to say. "How were you able to survive, Mom?" "Naruto, you're forgetting that your mother was already the strongest demon in known existence long before she joined the village," Skull answers for Kushina. Skull then turns his attention to the ramen that was placed in front of him. After taking a few bites, Skull decides to voice his question. "Kushina, how were you able to look like a young teenager for all those years?" "Well, as a kitsune I'm able to shapeshift, but we can only change our age, height, and a few other things," Kushina answers. "Like your eyes?" Naruto asks. "No, my eyes only change color when I tap deeply into my demonic chakra. That's why my eyes are green for the most part." "So Skull, what is you want to talk about?" Kushina asks her old sensei. Turning his head towards his old student, Skull decides that now was the time to speak. "Kushina, I'm sure that you are aware that I am the last of my clan." Seeing his old student nod, and making sure that his new one was paying attention as well, he continues, "The council has been pushing me for years to take on an heir. And if I don't find one or make one soon, all of my clan's techniques and secrets will be confiscated by the village council, and given to a more worthy clan. So what are you going to do, sensei?" Naruto asks Skull, while Kushina has a look of pure rage on her face. "The problem is hopefully being taken care of as we speak," Skull replies. "What do you mean?" "I have already found someone who is already worthy of becoming my heir. All I need to do is to see if he accepts my offer," Skull answers, taking another bite of ramen. So who is? Naruto asks, wanting to know who would inherit all of Skull's and his clan's techniques. You know him quite well, in fact I bet that you know him better than anyone else. Skull turning to Kushina. Seeing a look of realization come across her face, Skull raises his index finger to his lips, telling her to be silent. Sorry sensei, I don't think I know any that well. Naruto apologizes with his head down in defeat. Naruto, he's talking about you, Kushina tells her son. Really? Naruto asks for confirmation from his sensei. Yes Naruto, it is true. I have chosen you to carry on my clan's legacy as the greatest clan of assassins in the elemental nations. As my heir you will be forced to carry the Sendo name, a name that sends fear into the hearts of many. You will also have the Namikaze and Uzumaki name as well, so your names when this is all over will probably Naruto Uzumaki Sendo Namikaze. That's quite a mouthful if you ask me. He doesn't have to carry the Uzumaki name, Kushina says, taking another bite of her ramen. Why's that, Mom? I only took that as my last name to honor the people of Whirlpool. Remember I used to live there before Iwa sank at the war. Well, I want to honor them too, shouts out Naruto. Boy, with that attitude you will bring the clan back to greatness, Skull replies, hearing Naruto and how he wanted to honor those innocents who were slaughtered by Iwa's forces. Why's that sensei? Naruto asks. Naruto, my name in Menboku Sendo. Do you know what my first name means? Skull asks his student. Honor, Naruto answers. Yes, it is a clan tradition to name any child born into the clan after a highly respected quality. Such as I am named Honor. My brother was named Shinji, which means loyalty. That's so cool, shouts out Naruto, excited over the fact that he will be a member of such a prestige clan. Can you tell me what your dad's name was? His name was Dokyu, which means courage. My mother was married into the clan, so she didn't have that type of name. Skull stats, taking a sip of water. Yeah, but it's still cool sensei, Kushina replies, watching her sensei in interest since he had never revealed this much info about himself before. Anything else you want to share with us sensei? Let's see. While I am in the bingo book as an A-ranked nin with quite a few interesting nicknames. Please tell us, please, pleads out Naruto. Well, I only remember a few of them, but let's see. There was Kakui, Dark Shadow, that was given to me after I assassinated an Enbu caption right in the middle of their camp. There was also Torima, Phantom Killer, and the one I'm most recognized for, Decimasku, Death Mask, because of the mask I always wear. Man, those are some really cool names, Naruto exclaims. Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that one Naruto, says Kushina, looking at her sensei in awe. How come you never tell me any of these things? Letting out a sigh, Skull says, a few weeks before I was born, my clan moved here to escape from the civil wars in Mist that were about to begin. When I had reached the age of 6, my clan was massacred. They were brought up on some bullshit charges to justify their actions against my clan. The only survivors were my 4-year-old brother and me. When we were both in the Anbu, we were sent out to scout out the border. It turned out to be an ambush. My brother died instantly and I was left for dead. A few hours later I was found by a group of merchants, who were able to get me back to the village before my injuries could kill me. Damn, was all that Kushina could say. The only thing that kept me from going completely off the deep end was my wife, Isai Hyuga. Her clan had forbidden her from marrying me, but we did it anyways and kept it a secret. Not even 3 weeks after that ambush, Isai came to me and told that she was pregnant. That was the happiest moment of my life. But all good things must come to an end. As it got closer to the due date, it became harder for her to hide the child that was developing in her. When her clan had discovered this, the clan elders used the caged bird seal to kill both her and the child. Skull Eye. Let me finish please, Kushina. It was then that the third Hokage decided to try and help me. Since I was too stubborn to see a doctor or take a vacation. The old man decided that I was to take on a genin team, your team to be precise, Kushina. At first I was totally against the idea, but over time you brats swarmed past my tough exterior. But it was you, Kushina, which showed me that it was alright to live, that I have to look towards the future instead of wasting my time away on what-ifs. And over time I began to see you somewhat of a daughter or a little sister. I will never get over some of those things that had happened in my life. But I will do what I can to live a happy life, to honor my brother, my wife, and my clan. An eerie silence fell on the ramen stand, as everyone decided to leave the other alone and eat their ramen. It was then that Skull decided to break the silence. Naruto, do you know the training method of the Shadow Clone Jutsu? No, not really. As soon as I read what it can basically do and how to do it, I stopped reading and began to practice. Naruto answers, scratching the back of his head nervously. It's alright. Just try to be more careful next time. It isn't a forbidden just for nothing, it's mostly on there for the amount of chakra required to do it. However, it also allows the user to learn things at a much quicker pace. How's that, Skull-sensei? Naruto asks in excitement. Let's just say there is a scroll that contains information on your target for a mission, and let's just say that you have to head out immediately and can't take the scroll with you. So you leave a clone behind to read the scroll as you head out. When the clone had dispelled itself, you suddenly get the information that was on the scroll. Oh, I get it. Whatever the clone learns, I will learn it too. Exactly, with this jutsu you can master a jutsu faster than anyone else, learn anything at a much quicker pace, and can scout ahead without to stick your neck out too far. That's awesome, shouts out Naruto. Yes, it is. Now listen here, Naruto. Originally Sarutobi and I didn't want you to use this jutsu to learn techniques faster. We originally planned for you to only it to catch up on anything you might have missed in the academy due to teachers or the suppression seal. However, due to the fact that you are now my clan heir, and that we want to get you promoted to Chunin as fast as possible, we have decided to allow you to use the Shadow Clone Jutsu. After all of them had finished their ramen, they decided it was time to head home. Grabbing both Kushina and Naruto by their shoulders, Skull teleports them back to his home. Kushina, if you want, there is another guest room that you can have, Skull offers her. No, it's alright. Naruto and I can share a room and a bed. I'll just use my fox form and everything will be okay, Kushina says weakly as she heads off to her and Naruto's room. Naruto, come here for a second, Skull says. What is it, sensei? Whispering in his ear, Skull says, Naruto, do you know why your mother wants to share a room? I don't think so, Naruto replies. A look of confusion could be seen clearly on his face. Naruto, when you were little, did you used to have some nightmares? Nightmares so bad that you wished that you had a mother there to hold you and tell that it was all going to be okay. Yeah, I had them all the time when I was little, Naruto replies. Well, I think that your mother is having some of those herself, Skull says with his mask on and hood lowered. Why would she be having nightmares that bad? Naruto, on the night of your birth, what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of her life, she suffered a mother's worst nightmare. First, she killed many of her friends and comrades. She also feels responsible for your father's death, and for making your life a personal hell. But it wasn't her fault, Naruto argues. I know that, Naruto, but she still blames herself. What can we do to help her? It's not we, it's you, Naruto. Huh, the blonde responds, confused. Lying on the bed in her human form, Kushina silently weeps, hoping to hide her tears from her son. Sensing a presence in front of her, Kushina cracks open her eyes. There, standing in front of her, is a small 4-year-old child, with a mess of bright spiky blonde hair, cute little whisker marks on his cheeks, and the most adorable set of blue eyes the world had ever seen. Naruto, Kushina asks her son, wondering what was going on. Mommy, I had a bad dream. Can I sleep with you please? The 4-year-old child asks. Sure, stammers out Kushina, scooting over to give her son room. Snuggling closer to his mother, Naruto lets out a small yawn. Night, mommy, was all Naruto could say before he passed out. A small tear of joy falls from Kushina, before she, herself, falls into the land of slumber. I decided to do this just for fun. It's not a part of the story, because Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi will get a hell of a lot worse. Remember, justice will be served in this story, so be patient. Okay team, the Hokage has given us an important mission today, says Kakashi. What is it? Sasuke asks in a bored tone, as Sakura stares at him with hearts in her eyes. Let's see what it says, shall we? Kakashi says as he opens the scroll. Oh shit. What is it, sensei? Asks Sakura, starting to get nervous if her sensei was any indication on how dangerous the mission was. It says that you, Sasuke, and I have to survive a fight with Skull the Great Decimasku, says a paled-faced Kakashi as beads of sweat roll off his face. Humph, like he could beat me, says an arrogant Uchiha. I wouldn't count on that, booms out a mighty voice. Turning their heads, they see Skull standing there perfectly straight with his arms to the side. Look at what we have here, a wuss of an Uchiha. Before Kakashi could do anything, Sasuke takes off after Skull with a kunai in hand. Sadly, before he could even get close to Skull, a loud crunch was heard. Looking at the scene, many would have found it hilarious that all Skull had to do to defeat Sasuke was to lift his right foot to same height as the boy's face. It wasn't even 10 seconds before Kakashi was knocked out with a right boot to the face. All Sakura could do was faint. "Well, that was as boring as hell," replies Skull, seeing how easily that whole team was defeated by him. "Kushina, what's bothering you?" Skull asks as he sits down at the table in the kitchen. "Nothing," Kushina answers, scratching the back of her head, never making eye contact with him. "Kushina, I know you better than that, so tell me what's wrong," Skull asks again forcefully. "It's just that I've known you for so long," Kushina drawls out. "And last night you basically told Naruto your life story. You never told me those things, you were always so secretive." Letting out a deep sigh, Skull asks, "And you were wondering why I told Naruto everything?" "Well, yay, it just doesn't seem like you. It took you 2 years before you even mentioned your brother. And just last night you told Naruto everything, and you only knew him for what, 2 days at the most?" Shaking his head in a defeated manner, Skull answers, "I did it so that he would trust me." "What?" Kushina asks. "Your son, Naruto, has had his whole family, his heritage, kept secret from him. His trust was betrayed on a constant basis. Hell, if I was in his shoes I would have just left the village. If I am to get him to trust me, then I will have to share some of my most, darkest of secrets with him. And since you're in this too, I felt that you also too needed to know of my past," Skull says, sounding exhausted. "You alright?" she asks. "Yay, it's just that last night opened up a lot of old wounds," Skull answers. "I'm sorry," Kushina says, finding her hands to be quite interesting all of a sudden. "Forget about it, what's done is done. All we can do now is to move forward. All the while remembering our mistakes and learning from them, so that we won't repeat them." "Wow, that was deep," was all that Kushina could say. "Thanks, I actually got that from a fortune cookie," Skull says in joking manner, narrowly dodging a kunai that was aimed at his head. "How can you be so mature 1 second, then the next turn into the largest 2-year-old I have ever seen?" Kushina asks, a sudden twitch developing over her right eye. "What can I say, I'm just that good." "So Naruto's still asleep?" Skull asks, his voice suddenly turning serious. "Yay, he isn't that much of a morning person. He must have gotten that from his father." "No, if I remember correctly, he actually got that from you. You were the worst for sleeping in, until I broke you from it." Skull says the last part in the most sadistic voice he could muster, a voice that caused many Chunin and even some Junin to wet themselves. Shivering from the memories, Kushina asks, "You going to do the same to him?" "Why not, it was always fun teaching you how to wake up before sunrise," Skull answers. "I always wondered why you were like that. A habit, I guess. I mean, who would want to fight the strongest of demons in existence," replies the redhead. "You go ahead and wake him up, I'll make us some breakfast." "Alright," she replies, heading towards the room that her son is currently occupying. Entering the room, she sees her son lying sprawled out over the entire bed, snoring loudly. "Aw, he's so cute. It's such a shame that I didn't bring a camera." "Oh well," Kushina says, shrugging her shoulders. Sitting at the table, Skull has his hood up, sipping on his morning tea, enjoying the calm and peaceful moment. Well, what was a peaceful moment anyways? Skull prepares himself for what he knew was to come. "Get back here, you mangy fox," shouts out his young apprentice, chasing after a small fox, with him dripping wet with ice-cold water. "Is that any way to speak to your mother for waking you up in the morning?" Kushina says as her son continues to chase her, laughing her tail off. "You called drenching me ice-cold water waking me up? Well, it did the job, didn't it?" Kushina asks in an innocent tone, with her son still chasing her around the table. Deciding to take a break from being chased, Kushina dives under the table, with Naruto being none the wiser. Turning his head to his right, Skull sees Kushina sitting on one of chairs, grinning from ear to ear in her fox form. Raising a hidden eyebrow, Skull turns his attention to Naruto, who is still running around the table. "Genjutsu," Kushina says, getting Skull's attention. "I wanted to see how bad he is at genjutsu. So I cast a pretty sucky genjutsu, one that even an academy student wouldn't have any trouble noticing, to see if his ability to detect genjutsu got better after the suppressor seal was removed." "I see," Skull replies. "But have you taken into account that he's just too pissed off to notice the genjutsu?" Thinking it over for a few seconds, Kushina shrugs her furry shoulders. "Not my problem, you're his sensei. You're a pain, you know that. What can I say? I'm a natural at it. Never mind, Skull replies, turning his attention back to his young student. Deciding to go with the easiest way of getting rid of the genjutsu, Skull sticks his foot out far enough to trip the blonde who was currently running around the table like an idiot. Hey, what was that for? Shouts out the blonde, pulling his face off the floor. You could have seriously hurt me. This caused everyone to stare at him like he was nuts. You're kidding, right, Naruto, you're half demon. It would take a hell of a lot more than a kitchen floor for you to get seriously hurt, Kushina says, staring at her son like her was an idiot. Suddenly relieving how much of an idiot he had just made of himself, Naruto tries to save himself from some embarrassment. Yeah, it wouldn't have hurt me, but I don't like being tripped. Deciding to drop the subject for now, Skull turns his attention to Kushina. Kushina, you either eat at this table in your human form, or I'll give you a flea bath, he says in a tone that showed that he was dead serious. Ignoring her son's roaring laughter, Kushina changes into her human form with a pout on her face. You know you didn't have to threaten me with a flea bath, you know. Afraid of a bath, mom? Naruto shouts out, still laughing at his mother's apparent fear of a flea bath. Have you ever taken a flea bath? It stinks like hell. What is she talking about, sensei? Naruto asks Skull. I bet this has to do with one of our D-ranked missions when she was a genin. Seeing the confusion of Naruto's face, Skull decides to elaborate. One of our missions was to give some dogs a flea bath. As it turns out, your mother seems to be slightly allergic to the stuff. Slightly allergic? I couldn't stop sneezing for a whole freaking week. Kushina screams out at her sensei. Yeah, you did, but nothing worse happened. That's because of my healing ability, you idiot. Let's move on, shall we? Naruto, the Hokage, and I have to check your seal this morning. After that we'll do some chakra control exercises before you have to meet your team. After you finish with your team, then we'll begin with your actual training. Alright, Naruto replies, digging into his breakfast. Scene break, and if any of you have noticed, I finally got the third Hokage's first name right. Thank you those who have corrected me on my many mistakes. In the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi is seen doing his morning paperwork. Looking out the window, one would see a beautiful sun rising off in the distance, filling the village with its golden rays of light. Soon a knock was heard. Come in, the Hokage answers, hoping to get a small break away from all of the paperwork. Stepping into the room, Kakashi slowly makes his way to the Hokage's desk. From the looks of his one eye, it seemed that the man had spent a long time awake and probably hadn't spent any time sleeping at all. The way that he walked showed that he was indeed thinking of something. Lord Hokage, I have a request, Kakashi says, not even making eye contact as commander. And what would that be, Kakashi? The Hokage asks his subordinate. I was wondering, sir, if it would be possible for you to place Naruto on a different team. He asks, still not making any form of eye contact whatsoever. And what would your reasons be for this request? Sarutobi questions, keeping his eyes on Kakashi, looking for anything untrustworthy. Naruto would do much better under someone else's tutelage, Lord Hokage, Kakashi says. Explain, the Hokage says, his tone sharp-tiered with all the bullshit he had to put up with since he took back his position of Hokage. I have a hard time controlling my emotions around him, Kakashi says with remorse in his voice. Every time I see him, all I see is the Kyuubi, the demon that took away Sensei and his wife, Kushina. I know he's their son and that the monster is only sealed in him, but every time I'm around him I can't help but remember what happened. So those are your reasons for placing Naruto on a different team? Yes, sir, Lord Hokage. I would like Naruto to be placed with someone who would look past the Kyuubi and see who he really is. All I'm doing is holding him back. He has potential like I have never seen before. And all I'm doing is screwing him over. I can't even tell him the secret of using his clones to help with his training, the copycat nin says with his face in his hands. I'm sorry, Kakashi, my hands are tied. The senseis that would have treated Naruto decently already have full teams this year, the Hokage says, looking at Kakashi with what could be considered pity. Could you find someone that could tutor him? I hear that Skull is back in the village. Couldn't you ask Skull help him? He was close fiends with Minato-sensei when he was in the Anbu. Kakashi pleads to the Hokage. Kakashi, wasn't it you who asked to have Naruto placed onto your team? Sarutobi asks, glaring at the ninja before him who had begged and pleaded for the boy to be put onto his team. Yes sir, I did, but I thought that I had gotten over it enough for me to be the sensei that Naruto needed. Just like I should have been the older brother that should have been there for him years ago, he says, sounding like a man who was confessing all of his sins. I'll do what I can, Kakashi, but you know what will happen if the council finds out that Skull is training him, Kakashi, the old man says, letting the sentence hang. You won't need to worry about me, sir, Kakashi says with a bow, leaving the room. So the guilt has finally caught up to him. He's about 13 years late, the Hokage says to himself, letting out a sigh of frustration. What am I going to do with him? Sensing a pair of familiar chakra signatures, Sarutobi shouts out through the door, don't bother with knocking, just come right in and forget the unnecessary formalities. I forgot how good you are at detecting chakra, Skull says, chuckling. Hey old man, how are you doing? Naruto says in his usual friendly voice, but it seemed much calmer. Ah, Naruto and Skull, how are you doing today? And where is Kushina, by the way? He asks, lighting up his pipe, taking a few deep breaths. She decided to stay home, and put away the new clothes that she and Naruto got yesterday. Skull answers, taking his favorite spot in the room, the wall near the door, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. That's fine, Sarutobi replies, preferring her to not be here at the moment. Naruto, you seem to be calmer than you usually are. Yay, it's kinda crazy, but it feels natural to be like this. I mean, I feel normal and everything, it just doesn't, it's kinda hard for me to explain. Naruto says, struggling with his words, trying to explain the changes that were affecting him. You feel like you don't need to act up and be a pain, because you have the love and attention that you always needed, the old man says, letting out a big puff of smoke through his nose. Yeah, that's kinda it. I mean, I still feel the need to prank, but I still don't, no, the blonde says, frustrated. Don't worry about it, we know what you're trying to say, Skull says, standing up straight, walking up to the two, but in case any of you two have forgotten, we still have a seal to inspect. Yes, that would be the best thing to do at the moment. Naruto, would you please lift your shirt, and channel some chakra for us to make the seal visible? Doing as he's told, Naruto lifts his shirt up and channels some chakra. The seal that appeared shocked them, it was not the seal that none of them predicted. A chakra storage and transference seal, that's all? Skull asks, his tone betraying how shocked he was. This is not making any sense at all. Sarutobi growls out, a headache approaching him fast. What's going on? Naruto asks, a little shaken up at the two we're talking about. So far, nothing, but it could be a lot worse, Skull answers, calming the boy down. This just doesn't make any sense. Why would there be a chakra storage and transference seal? He doesn't need any of those since he is half demon. I know, and the only thing I could think of is if we can Naruto and Kushina to enter the seal if they can. Maybe they'll be able to find something that'll give us a clue as to what's going on, the Hokage says, inhaling his tobacco deeply, trying to calm his nerves. That is if they can still enter the seal. Kushina will defiantly not be happy about this, Skull says, shaking his head, trying to clear his thoughts. We'll worry about that later, Skull, go get her, we still have an hour or two before Naruto has his team meeting, he says with authority, letting them know how serious he is. Alright, I'll go, but she won't be happy about going back into the seal, trust me, Skull says, disappearing in a swirl of flames, only to reappear a few seconds later with a fuming Kushina. I think this is just a waste of time, I don't even know how I got out of the seal to begin with, she says, ranting on how she couldn't and wouldn't go back into the seal. Kushina, this is very important, Naruto's life could be in danger. That's why we want both you and Naruto to go back into the seal to find out what you can about it. And if you're worried about being stuck in there again, don't, because if you could get out once, then I'm sure that you'll be able to escape again, Sarutobi says, putting away his pipe. Alright, I'll do it, but I am not happy about doing this. And for the record, I'm not doing this because I was ordered to by my superiors, I was doing it to protect my son, Kushina says with a pout, and her arms crossed, her nose stuck up in the air, making her look like a pouting child. Shaking his head at the sight of the most powerful demon in the world acting like a child half her son's age, the Hokage says, let's just get this done with, I'd like to get some of my paperwork done today. Well, in case any of two knuckleheads have figured it out, I don't how to get in. Even better, I don't even know how I got out in the first place, you idiots, Kushina says, aggravated about having to back into her prison made by her husband. Don't worry if you get stuck in there, we'll find a way to get you out, Skull says, trying to reassure her. Fine, let's get this done, she says. Hopefully this will work, but it's just a thought. Why not just wish to go into the seal? Skull suggests. Just as good of a starting point as there is anyway, Sarutobi replies with a sigh, coming up with nothing on his end. Closing her eyes in concentration, Kushina focuses on returning to the seal, the prison her husband made for her all those years ago, where her son recently made it into a home away from home for her, only for her to escape the next morning. Not noticing anything different, she says with a sigh, "I told this wasn't going to work." "Actually, Mom, I think it kinda did," says the hesitant voice of her son, causing her eyes to snap open. Standing there next to her was her son in the clearing of the new mindscape that he made for her. Shrugging her shoulders, she says, "Well, let's get started. I'd like to get out of here as soon as I can. Being inside the seal reminds how much I missed out on being your mother." Checking everywhere, they turned up with nothing. "Did you find anything?" she asks her son. "No, but I think the cabin is the only thing left," Naruto replies, turning to face the cabin. "Alright," Kushina says, nodding her head, "stay behind me. I'll go in first, and if it's too much for me to handle, I want you to get out of here. Then I want to make Skull and the Hokage to make it where neither I nor whatever else is in to leave the seal." "Forever?" Not seeing any type of response from her son, she say, "Naruto, I'm serious. If it's more than I can handle, then I want you to get the hell out of here as fast as you can." "Alright, Mom," Naruto says, defeated. He had just gotten her back and she could be taken away from her again, only this time she might not ever return. Using their shinobi skills, they appear on each side of the door in a blink of the eye without making any noise. Nodding her head, Naruto opens the door at her silent command as she sprints into the room, only to stop dead right in the doorway. "Mom, what's going on?" whispers out the blonde, trying to see what had made her stop. Trying to push his way past his mother, he is stopped when he hears his mother gasps and speaks only one word. "Minato." If one were to walk near one of Konoha's training areas, you would hear the normal sounds of ninjas training, such as the whistling sound of projectiles flying through the air, flesh hitting flesh from ninjas sparring each other in hand-to-hand combat, names of jutsus being cast, a few and far explosions. However, today seems to be slightly different from many of the other days, mainly due to the head of the Sendo clan training his heir in the fighting style of his new clan that he is to inherit. "Shit!" shouts out a young blonde-hair man running from the explosions, with a red-hair woman running right next to him, both of which seem to be running for their lives. "I knew I was out of shape from being in that seal for so long, but I didn't think it would be this bad," Kushina puffs out, barely staying ahead of her son due to about 12 years of inactivity inside her son's stomach. Or that's what Skull refers to the seal as when he discussed how she would have to go through his training regiment again to get back into shape, often referring Kushina as stomach just to tick her off. "Duck," she shouts out, tackling her son to the side, barely avoiding an injury from one of the many exploding tags from their sensei. "Naruto, if we die here right now, I want you to know this. I love you and I'll always be proud of you." Not hearing any response, she looks around and notices that she's alone in the tiny clearing with flashing neon signs pointing at her. "That little bastard," Kushina growls out, vowing vengeance against her traitor of a son. Kabom! An earth-shattering explosion rocks the training grounds, almost knocking Naruto out of the tree he was hiding in. Seeing a mushroom cloud forming, he says, feeling a little guilty, "I hope she's alright." "Oh, I wouldn't worry about her right now. After all, I'm still here," whispers a voice from behind him. Recognizing the voice, Naruto tries to run. Unfortunately, a huge steel-toed boot to the side of his face changes those plans, causing him to land harshly onto the ground below. "Ouch!" Naruto moans out in pain. Sitting behind his desk, the third Hokage rubs his temples in frustration. Standing in front of him are the three people who had caused this whole mess. One a blonde covered in bruises and hair slightly singed, the other a tall figure dressed in all black with black skull mask covering his entire head, and lastly a hog-tied fox foaming at the mouth, growling at the previously two mentioned, with bald spots and burn marks along her coat of red fur. "Now," Sarutobi began, even though he knew it was pointless, "can you please explain to why you decided to break at least 20 different rules and regulations that are to be used and followed while in the training fields?" "What rules?" Naruto asks, apparently clueless about what they were talking about. "Nobody ever mentioned anything about the training ground having rules. More than likely, so should you graduate, you can be kicked out of the shinobi program. I'll fill you in later, but I think the Hokage will probably explain the most important ones. Usually the ones that will defiantly get you kicked out of the program pretty quickly if done only once or twice, but your case, all you'll have to do is just think about doing them." Skull says, his patience long gone. One reason the village, and the other his students being very far behind, by his standards, these along with a few others have just piled onto on another, making him more irritable and more sadistic. One of them is the use of an explosive device of any kind. Sarutobi explains, mostly doing so hoping that Skull would start following the rules as well. If you want to practice with explosives, then you have to go to one of our special training fields that are used for such purposes. Another would be the hours, mostly ignored or lightly fined for breaking this one. This is done so we can keep the training areas safe for our ninjas. The training fields have hours so we can keep an eye on the ninjas training and help them should they somehow become injured or ambushed if an enemy somehow enters the village. And before anyone mentions anything, yes, Uchiha were not allowed to perform this duty, though it never stopped them from entering the training fields to copy from their fellow comrades. That's why most clans have private training grounds, and never reveal any of their jutsus unless forced into it. Skull says, already knowing what his blonde student would ask. It turned out that the suppression seal only made it harder for him to concentrate and remember. Other than that, most of his students' unintelligent actions were mostly him seeking attention the only way he knew how, causing trouble for those around him. I'll leave the rest with your mother and Skull. Those mostly deal with civilians' complaints about being too noisy in the late evenings or early mornings. Laws that are usually there just to keep them happy and off our backs. Alright, Skull says, agreeing with him, adding that to the list of things to teach his student along with the basics of sealing, chakra control, basic first aid, knowledge about the clans in and out of Konoha that all clan heirs are to know, and history and geography of the elemental nations. And might I ask why Kushina is tied like some kind of crazed animal, and is that a muzzle? The Hokage asks, staring at Kushina at her trying to break free from her bonds, trying to attack her son and sensei. Survival training, Skull says, summing it up in 2 words, pretty much confirming the Hokage's fear. Skull, your version of survival training is attempting to kill your students, and let me guess, Naruto abandoned his mother and left some kind of mark so you could find her and allow him to escape, he says, causing Naruto to flinch. Don't worry, I would have done the same myself. Your father was the only person who could outright survive it. That's right, Kushina says, suddenly appearing in her human form like nothing had happened to her at all. Me and my genin team could only get a passable grade in that training exercise. Oh, and Naruto, if you ever do that again, you will regret it, she says, causing the temperature to drop in the room, making all the males in the room to shiver in fear. Alright, you two, Skull says, breaking the silence. Why don't you two head out and do some kind of mother-son bonding while the Hokage and I talk about some important things? Don't worry about anything, I'll fill you in later on the important stuff. Taking their sensei's advice, they both leave the office, both of which have their disguises in place, as Naruto in his jumpsuit and Kushina in her fox form. Making sure that both were gone and the area was clear, the Hokage asks, how's Minato's progress coming? Pretty well actually, after I altered the seal, speeding up the recovering process. How he was able to do it, I'll never figure it out. How he was able to summon the Grim Reaper and live to tell the tale is something I didn't even think to be possible, but from what I saw he has all 3. Mind, body, and soul. And from what I can tell, he's been using Kushina's chakra as some sort of life support, and it's healing him as we speak. All I did was gave him some more of her chakra to speed up the process. I thought that demonic chakra was dangerous, almost like poison to humans because of how potent and raw it is. But then again, if it used in small amounts, the body could develop immunity to a certain extent. It's well known that a demon's chakra has a strong healing factor. In fact, there were villages that experimented using some demons that they captured. The results were so horrible that they abandoned the program altogether, never trying it again. They even went as far as to kill the demons that were used in the experiments, while the rest were sealed in human children to create more powerful shinobi. Sarutobi says, lighting his pipe with a match, why he never looked for or created a jutsu for this. Even he didn't know, but he contributes it to the paperwork, messing with his head. Though most people don't even really care to begin with and only asked out of mild curiosity. What happened to the kids? Skull asks, knowing that he wouldn't like the answer. One by one the children began to realize that they were weapons, and began to develop some form of independent thinking. When the village thought they were beginning to lose absolute control over their vessels, they had each and every one of them executed as traitors to the village. That's what started the absolute hate of anyone with a demon contained within them. That may be true about most of the villages, however in my travels I discovered that Iwa and Kumo both have demons sealed, Skull says, shocking the Hokage. And that's not all, in their villages they are treated like normal even though they know that they have a demon sealed within them. Are you sure? The Hokage asks. Completely, Skull replies. Anyways, Sarutobi begins. How much longer do you think it will take? Can't say for sure, but he is showing signs of waking up. And if Kushina's chakra is as potent as we think it is, Minato might be back to 100% shortly after the Chunin exams. But then that leaves the problem of explaining how a dead man came back to life. Coma, the Hokage replies, I can easily find a team of doctors who'll cover for us claiming that he was under their care for the entire time, and we just faked his death for his and his family's protection. You know that they'll be shitting kittens when they find out that Naruto is his son. I would actually love to see their faces if they found that the Kyuubi is in fact Minato's wife. In fact, if they ever do find out, he'll claim that her attacking was because Minato and her were having a marital dispute. He says, getting a few laughs from his audience. Sorry about that, Mom, Naruto says, scratching behind his mother's ears hoping to make amends. Don't worry about it, sweetie, she says. I forgave you earlier, I just wanted to see you sweat a little. In case I never did tell you, you got your pranking genes from me. What about Dad? He used to be so serious, his clan and the village put a lot of pressure onto him. In fact, before I met your father and taught him how to have fun, you would have mistaken him for Sasuke with blonde hair and blue eyes. You're kidding, Naruto says, shocked that his dad was like Sasuke. Nope, he was like that until I started to prank him. When it couldn't be proven that I was the one responsible, and he knew it was me, he started to prank me back. After a while he found out that he enjoyed pranking, and that's what started our relationship. That and I wouldn't kiss his ass like the rest of the villagers do. Huh? Don't worry about it. How about we work on your tree climbing, and then we can have a prank war, she says, her eyes shining with excitement at the prospect of having fun with her son. Against who? He asks his mother. How about Kakashi? Whoever can prank him the best gets to choose what's for dinner tonight. It's been forever since I had rabbit, she says, licking her lips. I never had rabbit before, how are we going to have it? Naruto asks. Why, the best ways to have it raw, fresh off the bones, she replies, making him feel sick. Don't knock it until you try it, but I have to admit it tastes best when you're in your fox form. Which I will have to teach you soon. Wait, I have a fox form? Well, you should have one. I never meet anyone who was half human, half demon. But I heard stories that they usually had, for the most part, the best of both sides with only a few if almost none of the weaknesses. But we won't know what you can do until we try and figure out. I'm hoping that you get all of my abilities. Really, what are some of them? Shape-shifting, but there are limits to what can be changed, such as eye and hair color for me. It usually depends from fox to fox. Another would be far more potent chakra, which unfortunately makes it near impossible for me to use jutsus that require either a small amount of chakra or a high level of control. We have our own form of genjutsu that's near impossible to break, mostly because most people have never encountered a kitsune illusion before. There's that healing ability of mine that I know for sure you have. I just pushed more of my chakra into it to speed it up. Most young demons heal about as fast as a normal human. As they get older and have more chakra, then their healing ability speeds up with how much chakra they possess. We also live for a really long time, and most demons tend to have really good memories which make us seem to be really smart, she says, listing off more of the important ones. That is awesome. Which ones do you think I have? Hopefully all of them. Well, here we are, Kushina replies, changing back into her human form. Alright, let's work on your chakra control. Make 20 clones to do the exercise while we spar. Taijutsu only, no weapons. Nodding, he slips into the base stance for the taijutsu style she taught him, while she went into one that was similar to the academy's style. Noticing his curiosity, she replies, it's a fairly common style of taijutsu. Most if not all ninja use this. What I mean is that it is the base of most taijutsu styles. That's why the more simplified version is taught to academy students. Add a few more moves and there you have a different fighting style. How close is it to this one? Not much. It's kinda hard to describe, but our style tends to be more reactive and grapple, while the others tend to be more upright, neutral, and punch with a few kicks. Every style offers something different. The one I'm teaching you is very unpredictable due to how few actually know it. With that explained, mother and son charge at each other, with Kushina taking the first swing with a spin kick, forcing Naruto to drop low, trying to sweep her legs from under her. Seeing this, she does a back flip from her son, who tries to follow up with an uppercut punch aiming for her stomach, missing it as she suddenly spins to the right. Landing gracefully onto her feet, she throws a jab at her son, who reacts, trying to use one of the grapples she taught him by grabbing her wrist, trying to force her arm behind her back. Being inexperienced, he wasn't prepared for when she flips over, untwisting her arm and landing a powerful blow straight into his stomach, temporarily knocking the air out of him. Seeing as her would be dazed for a few more seconds, she quickly brings a kunai to his throat. "That was very good, Naruto," she says, but seeing his glare she continues, "Remember this, Naruto, ninja cheat. For most if not all ninja there is no such thing as honor. That's why I pulled a kunai on you, so you learn to cautious of everyone. I would love for you to absolutely trust me, but if this helps you survive, then I am all for you not trusting me." "Alright," Naruto says, "did Skull Sensei do this to your team too?" "Oh hell yeah he did," Kushina shouts out, remembering what her sensei did to her. "He used to poison our food, attack us in our sleep, and suddenly spring the training we did with him earlier all the time. We used to be so paranoid that we would jump at every small noise. Man, all of the demons must have been laughing up a storm at the sight of the legendary Kyuubi no Kitsune jumping at the smallest of noises, afraid to sleep, eat, or even go to the bathroom. Man, that must have sucked." "Oh hell yeah it did. But enough about that. While you clones are still working on your chakra control, why don't we just skip straight to pranking Kakashi? I'm thinking about giving him pink hair." That's okay for a start, but that's nothing for what I got planned," Naruto says, grinning. Meanwhile, a shiver runs down Kakashi's spine while this conversation takes place. Maybe I should call in sick today. Nah, there's no way that Naruto could be as bad as his mother. I still think that Jiraiya hasn't fully recovered from what she did to him. She caught him peeping. "Oh look at this, I'm 2 hours late. Maybe I should head over, Oh well, another half an hour won't hurt them." And with that, Kakashi returns to staring at the memorial, unaware of the hell that two foxes will unleash onto him. Waking up to his alarm, Kakashi shuts it off with a groan. Sitting up in his bed slowly, Kakashi slowly swings his feet out of the bed, heading towards the restroom to start the day. Hopping into the shower, Kakashi turns on the water and begins washing his hair. Reaching over to the side, Kakashi grabs a healthy amount of shampoo and begins to rub it into his hair. After rinsing the shampoo out of his hair and washing the rest of his body, Kakashi steps out of the shower. Noticing something odd in his mirror, Kakashi walks towards it, wiping off moisture off it, only to notice that something was wrong. Throughout the village everyone had heard the yell, but after a few seconds everyone just shrugged their shoulders and got back to what they were doing. Many of the villagers not noticing a mother and son bonding through one man misery, cackling maniacally at what was to come against the white-haired perverted man. Stage 1 complete, Kushina says with her son standing next to her. "Hope you got something planned, cause as of right now I am in the lead." "Oh don't worry mom, I just thought that I'd be nice and give you a head start before I beat you," Naruto replies confidently. "Oh really?" Kushina says, pulling Naruto into a headlock, rubbing her fist into his hair. "Noogie. Today was not a good day to be Kakashi. First off, he discovers that someone had put fast-acting pink hair dye in his shampoo. Another would be when he walked out his door and was halfway down the street when he then discovered that someone soaked the crotch of his pants in catnip, earning him caught a few painful and embarrassing moments that he would try to forever remove from his memory. And now he was walking towards the Hokage Tower bow-legged, wincing whenever his goods moved. Ouch, Kakashi yelps out as someone runs into him. Sorry, shouts out the voice of a cute dark-haired Kunoichi, causing Kakashi not to mind as much as he enjoys watching her leave. Nice, Kakashi couldn't help but comment, checking out her body as she ran out of view. Ew, I feel so filthy when he stared at me like that, Kushina says without her illusion. My ass has never felt so filthy before in my entire life, and let me tell you, it is a long life that I have had. Why don't you just leave a clone and go take a shower? It'll probably make you feel better. Naruto replies, feeling quite disgusted too, since his sensei was checking out his mom's ass right out in public without even trying to hide it. Good idea, and I would hug you and all, but you know, Kushina says, leaving the statement open. I know, I felt the same way when Kakashi poked me in the ass, he explains to her with a shudder at the memory. Oh my poor baby, she cries out, making a clone. Don't worry, mommy will be right back. Watching her leave, Naruto turns towards her clone and asks, "Should I call you Mom, Kushina, or something else?" Giggling she answers, "Mom, if you want." Remember, Skull Sensei explained that shadow clones are in fact a fragment of the original that are just as strong but have less chakra and can only take one hit, unlike some other clones. That's why when I dispel the original, Kushina will gain my memories, and to her she was here the entire time. "Oh okay Mom. Hey, what was that you put on Kakashi?" "Oh, it's a sealing tag, and before you ask, it's a piece of paper with a seal on it. It's usually used to place a seal on a person or thing in a battlefield. Usually they're paper bombs or seals used to block off chakra and many other things. And in case anyone tells you otherwise, a seal can be placed on just about anything with a solid surface that it can be attacked to. Heck, there are legends that claim that there are certain seal master that can place seals in the air or liquid surfaces." "Really?" Naruto asks, not really believing what he was hearing. Supposedly a true seal master can draw seals in the air or on or in water with just pure chakra alone. But so far no one claimed to be able to that. "I mean, sure, your father and a few people with some skills with sealing can draw certain seal on someone or something just using their chakra, but I have yet to see anyone go that far," Kushina says, ending what she hopes to be her last lecture of the day. "So anyways, what does the seal do?" Naruto asks her, giddy at what his mom had to offer. "That bit with the catnip in his pants was good," she says, acknowledging his pranking skills, "but this one will put me back right into the lead." "Yeah right Mom, keep on dreaming. Anyways, this seal will put a genjutsu on the people around him, making them see what I want them to see." "Oh, and what is that?" "You'll just have to see. Let's hurry up, he's heading to the meeting for the Junin senseis so the Hokage can know the progress of each team. Once he's in the room, I'll activate the seal, and bam, instant humiliation for dear old Kakashi," she says, cackling, making Naruto slowly start to move away from her. Kakashi showing up an hour and a half late to the Junin sensei meeting that was scheduled with the Hokage to check on the progress of each genin and make sure that they were reaching their true potential. And as usual, he came up with the worst excuse that was ever thought up, or at least that was what they thought. "Sorry I'm late, there were a group of cats that were trying to get into my pants," Kakashi replies to their glares. "Whatever," Sarutobi replies, wanting to prevent any arguments that would be happening due to Kakashi arriving so late that everyone else was now late as well for the entire day. "Let's get this meeting underway." As many of the senseis told those around the room of their team's progress, some of which were bragging, Guy being the loudest. Others told of how flawed their team was and how they decided to fix it. However, when it came to Kakashi to report about his time, things truly became interesting. "So Kakashi, how is your team progressing?" The Hokage asks Kakashi, wanting to see if he was actually wanting to change. "Well, Sasuke has shown the most progress. I haven't really shown him anything new, but I have worked on improving what he does know. Sakura has much to work to do when it comes to the physical aspect of being a shinobi. She seems to be the genjutsu type due to her small reserves and near-perfect control. I have made sure that she has access to genjutsu scrolls, and her progress with them has been coming along quite well," Kakashi says, stopping there, hoping the Hokage wouldn't ask of Naruto due to the fact that he had done absolutely nothing for the boy as a sensei. "What about Naruto?" Kurenai asks Kakashi, due to him not mentioning the blonde at all, hoping that nothing bad to him happened at all. She really didn't care or anything for the blonde, nor did she have anything against him either. It was mostly due to that her student Hinata, the heir of the Hyuga clan, had a massive crush on the blonde, and if anything happened to him, Hinata would be devastated. And with her self-confidence at an all-time low from the pressure of her family, if anything would happen to the blonde, Hinata would probably suffer a mental breakdown. Very few knew this, but if it wasn't for Naruto, then Hinata would have probably never had made it through the academy, but with Naruto providing stress relief for the Hyuga heir via pranks, Hinata was able to keep her sanity and not break under the pressure. Poor Hinata, she never was really meant to be a shinobi, but with her clan pushing her into it, she really has no choice but do her best and hope that she doesn't end up in the branch family. Only good thing that happened was that Hinata has found her first crush, and even if he ever finds out about it, he would never take advantage of it because that is just how he is. Kurenai quietly thinks to herself, seeing Hinata as a little sister or maybe even a daughter. "Kakashi, we have other things to do than sit around here all day and praise the Uchiha and the Haruno while you ignore Uzumaki, who is on your squad as well," Sarutobi says, chewing out Kakashi, knowing that he would not change if his psych file was anything to go by. "There's a genjutsu surrounding Kakashi. I better warn the Hokage, Kurenai says inside her head. Turning her attention towards the Hokage, she makes a few quick gestures to the Hokage who got the message and sent one of his telling her to handle the situation as she saw fit. Quickly and discreetly Kurenai dispels the genjutsu and, fortunately or unfortunately, activates a genjutsu sealed tag hidden on the back of Kakashi's neck. With the one genjutsu removed, many of the room couldn't help but bust a gut, and with Kushina's genjutsu activated, many couldn't help but roll on the floor laughing at the sight of with pink hair and wearing a green spandex leotard much like Guy does. Oh my mighty rival Kakashi, it is so good to see you embracing the flames of youth, Guy shouts out, hugging Kakashi, spinning on the spot, causing many others to laugh so hard that their sides were hurting. I must stop laughing. Sarutobi wheezes in between laughs, must not have heart attack. And poor Kakashi was twitching the entire time, muttering over and over again, I must not kill. I must not kill. From the top of a building across from the Hokage Tower, watching the meeting were two kitsune, or maybe 1.5 if you want to count the fact that Naruto was in fact half kitsune. Ha ha ha, I can't believe that actually worked, Naruto says, laughing, leaning against his mother, who laughing just as hard, leaning against him as well. I haven't had this much fun in years, Kushina laughs out, hugging her son, both of them having to lean against the other. Soon both of them fall straight to the ground, laughing too hard to even stand up. It'll hard to top that, mom, but give me an hour or two and I'll have something really good, Naruto proclaims to his mother, who had returned her shower, her skin lobster red from the sheer heat of the water. You must have felt really filthy to take that hot and long of a shower. Demons have two types of mates, a quickie, no attachments or anything. And then there is the lifelong mate, they are the ones that we share our entire lives with and have children with. That's the one I share with your father. Even if your father was to die, I could never be with another. And if either one of us were to cheat on the other, then that one would feel like utter and complete crap. Even being checked out by someone else makes me feel dirty. Yo, Kakashi says to his team, showing up 4 hours late. Sorry I'm late, but the meeting I had with the Hokage ran a little late. Lee, wait, that actually sounds like a real excuse. Sakura says, a look of pure confusion written on his face. Making sure that all of the team was there, Kakashi explains, we're only going to be doing a quick D-rank mission, and then I'll call it day. That meeting really took a lot out of me. Scene break. So Skull, what brings you here? The Hokage asks Skull, who was standing in his usual spot leaning against the wall near the door with his arms crossed. I request that Team 7 receives a C-rank mission, he replies, looking the Hokage straight in the eye, or Sarutobi at least thought he was. You do know that you won't be able to go along on this mission? Yes, but he will have his mother and Anko. And by the way, did she agree with our deal? Of course she accepted the deal. She always wanted a student, but her reputation as Orochimaru's student has prevented her from taking any students. And with his healing ability, she will really enjoy torturing the poor boy. Sarutobi replies, not envying the boy in the slightest. If it'll help with the boy's training, then more power to her. And you know that the Uchiha and his fangirl will not go for the training she will offer due to how difficult it will be. But I can't help but wonder how you are going to explain her going on a C-rank mission with a Genin team that already has a Junin sensei. I already have. Anko never gets to leave the village due to council believing that she is ready, just waiting to return to Orochimaru. Therefore she usually isn't allowed to take any missions away from the village unless it was with a team approved by the council. Sadly, the only team that takes her is a team of Anbu, and they only let her some along if they need someone interrogated in the field. Well, that must suck, Skull replies, knowing just how bad this village could be, and was thankful that they didn't go all out on her, probably because of strong she is, and knew that they were screwed if they pushed things too far. Indeed, anyways, I explained it to Kakashi that Anko needs a vacation, and everyone knows that Anko does not take vacations. So I told him that I told Anko that he needed a little help with his Genin team while on the mission. Thankfully Kakashi is one of the ninjas that the council will allow to take Anko with them on a mission outside the village, and even though he doesn't like it, he will not go against a direct order no matter what. I'll have Naruto give some kind of speech or something that'll convince you to let his team take this mission, so that it doesn't appear suspicious that a Genin team is taking a C rank so early out of the academy. Good, then it seems that we have everything covered. Sarutobi replies, lighting his pipe and taking a few deep breaths from it, his entire body relaxing now. Scene break. Walking down the street is Kakashi with his nose hidden in his book again, not even caring how angry some women and parents would get because of him reading porn in front of children who were walking up and down the street. And fortunately for our two pranksters, Kakashi happens to quite well known to be a pervert. Alright mom, feast your eyes on what I have in store, Naruto tells his mother, quickly creating a clone. Both perform the transformation jutsu, one taking the form of a woman who would make Tsunade appear to be flat and the original would be a 10-year-old girl with dark hair and green eyes. Hello Kakashi, purrs out a very sexy voice. I've been waiting to meet you for so long. Turning towards the voice, Kakashi couldn't help but stare at the woman before him. Full lush lips, crystal clear blue-like eyes, long purple hair, and a body that seemed to be a mixture of all the women he had ever fantasized about. In his opinion, she was the sexiest woman he had ever ran into. Hello, Kakashi says in a bored tone, hoping it would make him sound cool. What's your name? How about I tell you, she says, leaning in and whispers into his ear. However, it wasn't her name she was whispering. It was in fact one of the porn scenes from Kakashi's book, causing said man to receive a nosebleed and erection. How does that sound? Very nice, Kakashi squeaks out. Hey, I know a place where you and I can go. Let's go then, she says with a grin, extending out her hand for him to take. However, as soon as Kakashi grabs her hand, she was covered in smoke. When the smoke cleared, there stood a 10-year-old girl with dark hair and green eyes. Crap substitution, Kakashi mutters out, still holding the little girl's hands. Help, pervert, the girl screams out. I don't want to do those things that are in that book. And unfortunately for Kakashi, all this was taking place in the middle of a busy street full of angry people. Hearing the scream of a little girl, many turned to see, from their point of view, Kakashi dragging a little away. Anger flowed through the people at how this ninja had the gall to hurt this young child. Oh, the sweet irony of the situation. And began to weapons pull out from seemingly nowhere. This isn't what it looks like, Kakashi pleads out, making the people even angrier than they were before. Now that was good, Kushina says, hugging her son, watching the beating that Kakashi was receiving. I think that just about tops anything I have planned for today. Yep, Naruto replies with a large grin on his face. Want to have another prank war? Sure, we'll use the same target, Kakashi, but we'll wait a while so we can plan some really good ones. She answers her son, already planning some pranks that she had planned out for Kakashi. Finally guys, this is over. If you enjoy it, then please like, share and do comments.